Jesus. Okay. I'm not I'm not wearing my headphones. I'll try to put this slow so I don't get like a ton of feedback because so the problem is that I can't play music. Well, I mean, I can. I can. Like I kind of wanted to listen to the Kendrick album and it's definitely going to copyright. Well, I think it's going to copyright me anyway if I just listen to that. Wait, how was it? I need to fix this shit. Oh. Killing me. Okay. Hello. Good morning. Well, it's like midday already. But good morning. Okay, I have to like do some school shit. So, yeah. Boring shit today. It's getting like mentalized. I guess I could show you guys real quick what I have to do. Alright, we're doing fucking koi fish. Yeah, this is what we're doing. I can't. I can't. I lied, I can't. Whatever, we're doing fucking koi fish. We're painting fucking koi fish. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Is there anything I care about this? In this? Let's watch. We have time, okay? So I think I'm gonna put on the Mr. Beast interview whilst I do what I have to do. Yeah, probably. What's up? What's new? I hate when this happens, bro. How? I don't know. It's just like a thing with Streamlabs. I think it's the fucking mouse disappears. Okay, fucking whatever. This is racist, by the way. Well, I mean, anti-Semitic, I guess. What do you guys want to watch? Something? Anything happen? Oh fuck! I got banned off of. Well, I didn't get banned. I got my ass locked on Twitter. I posted it here. I got like okay likes. This is one of my favorite meme formats, by the way. Wait. David Pac-Man is now on kick. Hello, Pac-Man. Alright. Let me see if I can find it. It's like 2 hours ago that I posted it, I think. Fuck, am I getting... I'm getting silenced everywhere, y'all. Oh no, here it is. I got banned for posting this, but I didn't get banned. I got locked. Bro, it's just my opinion. I said I wouldn't kill him though. I'm testing this out. I actually want to know. Damn, waking up at 5. In my defense, I saw racism and the demons acted up. Oh my god, bro. Anyway, who gives a fuck? Fucking cinema. Look, killing people is bad, okay? I don't know what you want me to say. Anyway, I'm gonna play this.
What goods, what industries, what kind of impact it's going to have on Americans?
Just about everything you touch, it will have an impact on.
It may be unexpected to Americans who thought Trump was going to lower their prices. Because if you voted for Trump because you thought he was going to bring grocery prices down, I have some very bad news for you.
Last night, Donald Trump publicly announced via social media that on his first day in office, he's going to slap a 25% tariff on all imports into the United States coming from Mexico and Canada, and a 10% tariff on all imports coming into the United States from China, potentially triggering a trade war with all three nations simultaneously. And as a consequence of this, markets are roiling today. Rich MAGA Republicans are publicly panicking. Mexico's government is signaling that it will retaliate with tariffs of its own against the United States. And suddenly, according to Google search trends, Americans are interested in just what the hell a tariff is, which is good because if Trump follows through on this, prices are going to skyrocket for everyday Americans, including Trump voters, with respect to groceries, cars, medications, and everything. This is a disaster. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, I got a couple of clips to show you, but just for context, last night I was actually at a basketball game with my girlfriend and a friend, and I happened to, while I was waiting at the concession stand, look at my phone, and I saw this tweet from Donald Trump, and I was just flabbergasted, and I really shouldn't have been because he said he was going to do this, but just sometimes my naivete gets the better of me, and I think to myself, man, surely Donald Trump and the rest of us have learned our lesson, and he's not actually going to do some of this stuff. We're going to look at the tweets, okay? Angry staffer. Thank God put the two of them together. Trump announces that on his first day in office, he's going to put a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada and an extra 10% tariff on China. Stock up on whatever you need before January 20th. Everything is about to get more expensive. Groceries, cars, medications, all of it. So these are Trump's tweets. As everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at level never seen before. Right now, a caravan coming from Mexico, composed of thousands of people, seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our currently open border. Again, constantly. 2016, 2020, it's always these caravans. Just, he's playing the greatest hits, and people are going to lap it up. And if he follows through with this, suffer the consequences. I digress. On January 20th, as one of my first of many executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such a time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long-simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such a time that they do, it's time for them to pay a very big price. The problem, of course, is that if he does this, it won't be Mexico and Canada who pay the very big price. It will be American consumers. More on that later. So then he follows it up with, I've had many talks with China about the massive amounts of drugs, in particular fentanyl, being sent into the United States, but to no avail. Representatives of China told me that they would institute their maximum penalty, that of death, for any drug dealers caught doing this. But unfortunately, they never followed through, and drugs are pouring into our country, mostly through Mexico, at levels never seen before. Until such a time as they stop, we will be charging China an extra 10% tariff above any additional tariffs on all of their many products coming into the United States. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Now, got some clips to play, but first let's start with this one here. What would the consequence be for the American people? Liberals, conservatives, progressives, rich, poor, blue cities, blue states, Trump voters, non-Trump voters. How would they feel this in terms of their expenses and their pocketbook?
Reacting, but talk to us in terms of what goods, what industries, what kind of impact it's going to have on Americans.
Just about everything you touch, it will have an impact on. Cars, for example. Big car industry in Canada, for example, that half of the cars made in Canada are made by American companies, and half of the parts in those cars come from the United States. And all of those parts go back and forth multiple times before a final assembled vehicle is sold. You start putting 25% tariffs on each of those moves, and you're adding to the price of a car. Tomatoes coming from Mexico, any kind of produce coming from Mexico, and a lot of our imports come from Mexico in terms of grocery items. Those would cost more money. And let me explain why. Because the president-elect doesn't believe this or doesn't acknowledge this. But the entity that writes the check for the import tax is the importer, the company that's then going to send it to a grocery store or to a car dealership. So that cost is passed on to consumers. So consumers would face higher prices for things. And in the very near term, the stock market is simply reacting to the fact that it's disruptive. Even if this is just a threat from the president-elect, already people are signing deals to import goods in the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks. And so they are facing higher prices ahead.
I mean, these three countries, Mexico, Canada, China, imported more than, well, we imported from them more than $1 trillion worth of goods in the last year. If we're expecting these tariffs, prices could go up.
I have been the whole time. He's gonna be shitting on the Nazi pass of Smogon. Y'all know Smogon. Oh, actually, this is something that we might do like daily. Let me actually. I want to try the other one though. I'm fine. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. I don't really like playing. Well, I don't really like playing games on stream because I feel like it's a waste of time. If I'm like on here, I kind of like doing something that's like worthwhile for both y'all and for me. Okay, here we go. This is the team. I don't know who to start with. I think I'm gonna just go Mimikyu and Cineroar. Roar. The Calyrex. Bap! Oh, what? Why did that still hit? What the fuck? I'm gonna parting shot it. I fucking did the thing though. Why did it still attack? Ugh. Torgo. No! Oh, fuck! I'm fucked. Guys, I'm fucked. This team sucks ass. Okay, no, it's fine. I'm actually gonna roar out the Kyogre, bro. Fuck that. And you're gonna switch out. Fuck! No! Undidi. Photon Geyser. On who? Fuck me. That was sick, but I didn't do fuck all. Okay. Okay. Fuck! Okay. Right. I got... Cool. Cool, I got fucked. Good shit. Nobody. What the fuck do you mean who's gonna switch in for? It survived. No, it didn't. There it goes. Cool. Shitty team. Dookie team, bro. This Suicune team is much better. We might play later. Okay. Okay. I need to do shit. Okay. I'm gonna play the. Let's see. Let's see what we can suss out, guys.
Are you gonna sue Dogpack?
Or maybe there's nothing to suss out. Maybe he's just a guy.
Mr. Beast is currently on a private jet on his way to where I live in Central Texas to have a conversation with me with the intention of addressing the controversy that he has been involved in over the last few months. And I think that it is important for me to document my intentions before embarking on this risky and difficult task. I am not Scott Pelley. I am not a hard-hitting genius investigative journalist. I'm a YouTuber with a medium-sized platform.
Clearly.
I am currently doing journalism, to be fair, but I am goofy, all right? Also, back in August, I platformed Dogpack, and out of fairness, I feel that it is important to do the same for Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast has agreed to keep an open line of communication. He'll only be here for a little bit, which is crazy because he's flying halfway across the country. And he and his team have agreed to provide us with evidence and information to give proof to claims so we can actually be as transparent here as possible. The goal of this video is not for it to please everyone or gotcha somebody. It is for this video to be a meaningful source of information. So to future me and you currently viewing, I'm sure I missed some questions, but I absolutely did my best, and I stand behind the result, maybe, and I look forward to seeing the comments and criticism.
Firstly, would you be willing to put your hand on this Bible and swear?
Oh my gosh, you actually have a Bible?
I have 2 Bibles.
Are you being serious?
I am being serious.
Okay, so my idea for this
We're both from the South. This will be an honest video.
Your laptop's blocking.
Oh, whoops. This will be an honest video.
Last time was fucking horrible.
You're a man from North Carolina. I'm from Virginia.
The Bible Belt.
The Bible Belt,
Yep.
exactly.
I know
And
what this means.
this means it's legit.
Yes. Okay.
There we go.
I was not expecting that. Okay.
Fuck off.
Legal now.
It is. I can go to jail.
That's
The
fucking
first biggest
retarded,
question
bro.
for me and a lot of people that I've spoken to over the last couple months is like, why were you so silent? Especially off the bat, like you did respond to the Ava Tyson stuff immediately, but like, you know, right after that, a bunch of other
I
stuff
feel like the
came
reason
out,
why I
and
didn't.
Dawson-
Okay, I didn't watch this before because like immediately this guy pissed me off. Fucking both of them. Fucking Oompaville for not. Caleb, I think his name is, for not pushing him on like this, and this retard for his fucking answer.
His first video gained a bunch of traction. What was your reasoning for being so silent immediately?
No, that's a great question to kick it off on.
That's a great question.
You actually kind of laid out the
Go
timeline there.
fuck yourself.
The Ava stuff came out, and I put out that tweet. We hired the investigators to go look into it. And part of that investigation is they recommended that I not talk about drama or really do anything online because it might influence, you know, witnesses or any people they might interview or ex-employees. So it's a little unfortunate because I had told them, okay, I'll wait till the investigation is over. I believe that was literally like a week before the Dogpack video came out. And then, truthfully, just in transparency, I've never done one of these like big investigations before, and in my head it was gonna last like 2 or 3 weeks. It ended up taking a couple months. Apparently, combing through all the documents and doing all the interviews and everything just took way longer than I thought because I've never had to bring in a top tier law firm and a former federal prosecutor and let him, do this really big thing. And so that kind of concluded a couple of weeks ago when I put out the tweet of the follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, that was the day I got the conclusion of it. And I was like, okay, in transparency, I'll throw this out. So up until that point, it was, I told Quinn Emanuel that, to protect the integrity, I wouldn't do anything or engage in any of this drama. And then after that, yeah, like you said, a lot of stuff had come out between when the investigation started and when it ended. And I was just kind of like, whoa, I don't really know how to like hit this stuff. And I made like a little response video, but that's just kind of not my style, where I just kind of like put a lot of the information that I assume we're going to talk about here out, and it just felt weird. Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I've never been in a situation where people have thrown this much stuff at me, and I definitely could have handled it better. Like, I probably should have, like, the second I could have talked, like, I don't remember the exact date, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we put that report out. Probably should have done something like this right then. If I could go back in time, I would.
Jesus.
And yeah, that's kind of like
That was
the
the
brain
devil.
dump, and then here I am.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask.
This dude's
Andy,
the
for
fucking
example,
devil.
Like, do you regret that? Obviously.
Yeah, if I could go back in time, I would.
Okay, so the thing that pisses me off is that everything with Ava Tyson, he knew. Like, he knew. He was there for it all. There was no need for this investigation. There was no need for any of this anything. He was there. He knew. Everybody, like, I feel like nobody actually talks about this, but like, he knew. Or like, and, like, it's not even that. I'm not saying he's a fucking. You know what? Fuck this guy. He's a pedophile.
I would do what we're doing here because I assume this is like the correct format. It's going to be a little bit more free flowing and natural, and I wouldn't have wasted so much time like trying to do a response. It's just not my thing. I like so much better, or I'm assuming. I mean, we just started, but I think I'm gonna like so much better being asked the questions and answer it instead of just like sitting in a chair like this answering it. It just feels a little more natural.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that
hell.
definitely, that does line up obviously with what's happened, and it makes sense. And I definitely, I feel like, before talking to you, I definitely would imagine that you would regret have not making a response early.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Like that, because you could have just immediately, if there is information to debunk Dogpack's his first video off the bat.
Yeah, which obviously had so much disinformation in it. If anyone saw Sagi's video or any of the newer videos now coming out, like you would see so much. So much of it. So it's it's unfortunate that it happened on the back end of when I said I would not talk about or address drama and things. And I mean, there's obviously should have done this sooner. Whoops, but hey, better late than never.
Yeah. Did you think it would get this big?
No, I mean truthfully,
I don't give a fuck if
again,
that video is
if you watch
disinfo or
Sagi's
not.
video
I fucking hate this guy. This guy's a fucking loser. Nerd little fucking loser. Wait. What are they called? I love how like painting stream, but there's literally no way to see for people to see what the fuck I'm painting. I don't give a fuck though. Just a way of getting hours in. Okay, sorry, this one's boring. Okay, fuck all of you.
any of these other videos that are coming out now showing all the discrepancies, I honestly thought a lot of people would find like the information proving the dishonesty earlier. Because a lot of this could have been just figure out Google. A lot of this could, and now I also have to be clear, like I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying I've never done anything wrong, and you can't criticize me. Like there are things I deserve criticism for, and I'm sure we'll get to some of those things in here. But there are a lot of things that are just not true.
Okay,
and, on
I'm
those
making
things,
a bet. He will not take criticism.
He
will not take criticism for anything in this conversation.
Easily prove wrong. Like
Not
the big
once.
ones that videos with tens of millions of views collectively. Claiming I called a guy Delaware because he committed a crime in Delaware. Like, that is not true. His name was just Delaware. I didn't, call him Delaware to make fun of him or anything. And, I'm sure you're gonna ask about it later, but there's literally, he was in a video before I hired him, working at Best Buy, wearing a name tag that said Delaware, and that was public information, and anyone could have saw that. Even during when that was getting shared a lot a couple months ago, I even sent that to a couple YouTubers. I was like, hey, just so you know,
So this is I think here was where I left this video, because this is already really weird to me, right? Because his name was never really the sticking point, was it? It's not really about it's not about you calling him Delaware because of X or Y. And it was proven that this guy was a sexual predator. No. So yeah. There he goes again, the pedophile.
I didn't call him Delaware because of this messed up thing. That was just his name, and here's proof. And I guess I probably shouldn't say the name of the creators, but like one of them literally just said to me like, well, it's not really cool to like you or defend you right now, so I don't really care whether or not it's true, or I don't want to take the video down because then people are gonna think I'm controlled opposition. I was like, whoa. And then also like that same photo, are you gonna like throw some things on the screen for them?
Definitely.
Yeah, so throw it on the screen. That same photo, right after that second dog pack video, started to get traction on Reddit, and saying like, hey, this is a lie. Jimmy didn't call him Delaware to make fun of him, you know, committing a crime in Delaware. That's just his name. And it got taken down by the mods on r/YouTube drama. And that's when I realized, like, oh, anytime there's a post proving like that I'm not evil, they were taking it down. So it was a little unfortunate too.
Proving that I'm not
I
evil.
wasn't saying anything. And then on Reddit, anytime something was proving that I wasn't evil or, you know, contrarian to what everyone was saying, they were suppressing it or censoring it, not trying to sound extreme.
So you're saying
What a fucking retard.
Which, I mean, Reddit, r/YouTube drama is.
Yeah, I know, but it's unfortunate when there's a post with 10,000 upvotes claiming something false about you, and then everyone, then a couple people are like, wait, that's not true, here's proof, and then they delete it every time. So then everyone's like, okay, well then that must be true, because they're also deleting the comments on that post that prove it's not. So then then it's just like, now, you know, again, I'm not trying to sound extreme, but it's just like, oh, you're censoring information. And then that paired with other YouTubers, when I would call them and share it with them, they'd just be like, well, I don't want to be Mr. Beast Gladiator. I don't really... You know, they wouldn't say it this direct, but they would just essentially say, like, I don't really care if it's true or not. I'm just going to say what other people say, like, sorry.
Do you have evidence of, like, people, there being posts that existed and then didn't exist on Reddit that got...
Of course. Yeah, I can send you...
Yeah, if you'd send me anything
you
of
can throw it up
that.
on screen. I mean, that's not, like, a conspiracy theory. That's
Of course,
Yeah.
Just, you know.
we can find quite a few.
I'm not that good at using Google. So
Yeah.
I'll need you to help me with that. Yeah, so to circle back to the Quinn Emanuel investigation, the big thing on the internet, on Twitter specifically, was that you found yourself to be innocent. Of course, you paid a law firm to find yourself innocent.
I saw those memes, yeah.
That was the big meme. How would you respond to the allegation that the investigation was biased from the start?
Yeah. So, first off, to just set the foundation, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, of course, Jimmy did an internal investigation, found himself, you know, they didn't find any wrongdoing, which is also not true, which I assume we'll go into that more later. They did find some wrongdoing, just not in regards to, like, the serious Ava allegation. So that's a, you know, false truth. And then on top of that, it wasn't an internal investigation. It was an external investigation, which was clearly laid out in the things we showed.
That's a false truth.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, it is a little bit of a, like, you know, a lot of people I saw were saying, like, well, you paid them, and it's like, well, yeah, top tier lawyers and federal prosecutors don't work for free, so I have to pay them.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to debunk that one. I mean, it just is what it is. But yeah, we hired Quinn Emanuel, which is one of the top law firms in the world. Like, I mean, it was very expensive, but I intentionally picked them because they have a reputation, and they're not just gonna destroy their entire business to be biased towards me, you know what I mean? And then it was led by a former federal prosecutor who did the whole thing. I mean, it was pretty intense. I mean, they did tons of interviews. I mean, transparent. They even, like, scanned my phone. Like, they have messages I sent to my girlfriend. And I'm like, why is this even relevant? They're like, I mean, if you want a thorough one and you want us to, like, be confident in what we're saying, we need to see everything. Like, they went pretty hardcore on it, which is why it ended up taking a couple of months. Because truthfully, when I started this process, I didn't realize, like, how intense it was, but, you know, I gave him the reins to everything, and
Bro, I feel like he's lying.
It took longer than I thought, but
Every single word he says.
I don't know. I mean, is there any, like, how else do I prove it besides? I mean, I think another thing that missing context people don't have is, like, if they found anything illegal, they are obligated to report it to the police. Like, this like, that's how these things work when they do these investigations. It's not like they could be like, hey Jimmy, we found this illegal thing. We'll just sweep it under the rug.
It's all right, 'cause you paid us.
Yeah, so it's just in every way. I just don't think people understand. Like, it's, yeah, it was obviously Quinn Emanuel. That's why we paid them, and it was pretty thorough. And
yeah, so yeah, I mean, those are two things that make sense, right? Where we just covered two back-to-back things that make sense. A, you waited a long time for the investigation, and B, you paid like a very reputable law firm, whatever, to investigate. Both of those things make sense logically from your perspective, but also optically from the outside looking in. For people who are just seeing the allegations, they're like, "Oh, this guy looks guilty."
Yeah.
You know, he's building this big sort of law team. And he's not responding, and he's like it. So it's
building
kind of,
this.
it's kind of bizarre and unfortunate because, like, it does make sense. from a logical
I mean,
perspective.
because there's two things I could do. I could do an internal investigation.
Yeah.
But that's
Great
dumb
idea.
because I don't want to audit myself.
Let your mom do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let my mom do it, or I could do an external one. That's what we did. And again, it's like, because I didn't have control over it, obviously, if I did, I would have been like, bro, do this in 2 weeks so I can get this out there. Like, I didn't want it to take months, but I mean, that's part of an external investigation. You don't have
Bro, this
control
is
over it.
2
Now,
hours
consider-
long.
You obviously regret.
I don't want to
the-
listen to this
remaining silent.
retard
Would you
talk for
consider
2
that
hours.
The third-party investigation as a whole, in looking back, would that have been? Would you
Like,
say that's a
honestly,
mistake?
I'm not gonna be paying attention all the
No,
time.
I just think I would
Oh,
push back
get
on, like, do I really
fucked.
have to be silent? Like,
Okay.
can I just, like, do this thing?
Change my mind?
You know,
Impossible.
Like, go clap back on some of these things, but, you know, like, some of these things, people were apparently talking to ex-employees or whatever, and so it just gets muddy, because I really didn't want the integrity of the investigation to, like...
I never even thought he was
question
malicious.
or
I
anything.
just think
So
he's
I
retarded.
was, like, super paranoid, where I was like, okay, this is what they said, I don't want to push back or anything, but, yeah, obviously, in hindsight, like... I mean, a lot of these things are just blatantly lies. Like, if I just clap back instantly, people were just like, okay, cool, and moved on.
Would you consider making some details of the investigation that have yet to be seen public? Obviously, there's like a level of confidentiality that is required legally.
Exactly, yeah.
But like, is there anything?
Well, that's the thing. Like, what we put out as much as we could, but I mean, obviously, they did dozens of interviews, including, you know, alleged people
Dozens.
who were victims, and I mean, like I said, my message is my girlfriend. Like, they gathered a lot, so I don't really think I can. I mean, there's a lot of sensitive data and information.
2 people.
There, you know?
What about like a just to back up your claims to their
Oh, but things on, like, how, like, they did it independently and they weren't
Yeah.
biased, like, that side, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really know what people would want to see, but yeah, I mean, we can figure it out.
just from what I know about like retainer contracts with lawyers and working with, you know, third-party investigations, things like, which I don't have any experience with anything that big, obviously.
Yeah.
But maintaining a level of compliance, like, I mean, if there's like a retainer contract, something showing that, you know, you shouldn't.
Now, this is where I'm ignorant, like, I don't even know really what
Yeah.
a retainer contract is, but
Yeah, I mean, like
if there's any way I could, of course.
Like your third party saying, Jimmy, don't talk, like just basically giving credence to what you're saying, even more
Gotcha.
so, more evidence of what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something I'd have to, like, go talk to the team on, but,
Yeah.
I mean,
that would help.
if
me.
that's something where people desperately want transparency, I mean,
Yeah.
we can figure something out.
Yeah, I that would just help me. I'm not
Nobody
sure.
cares,
Honestly, I don't know if
dog.
people would give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I would
Because if
appreciate
people
that.
are like, we think Quinn Emanuel's biased, like, even no matter what I show them, if they think a top tier law firm would willingly
Yeah.
potentially tank their rep for me, like, I don't know if there's anything that's
Yeah,
ever
it's
going to
foolish,
convince them.
right?
Yeah,
It is foolish, and it makes sense. But once again, it's like optically, there is a very easy.
By the way, saying that they would.
way to look
Whatever.
at stuff.
Yeah.
And-
But also, what I would say to those people is I'm here, so it's not like I'm like, maybe that argument would work if I just never did anything, but I'm here, so
in the lion's den.
yes. Opposition towards me.
Controlled
Hey, also, I'd love to say,
opposition.
I don't know if he's posting this chronologically or whatnot, but I mean, he also did interview Dogpack multiple times, so it's
Yeah,
like
multiple
I
times.
like because I could have done this with anyone, but I think this one makes sense because you've literally had the other side on here, so.
This one? What the fuck was. Holy. Bro, listen to that. Listen to the way he talks about this. Okay, wait.
So it's not like I'm like, maybe that argument would work if I just never did anything, but I'm here. So
I'm here.
In the
So,
lion's den.
wait.
yes, controlled opposition towards me. Hey, also I'd love to say I don't know if he's posting this chronologically or not, but I mean he also did interview
also-
Dogpack multiple times, so it's
Yeah,
like
multiple
I
times.
like because I could have done this with anyone, but I think
This
this one
with
makes
any-
sense because you've
This one. What the fuck? Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me.
really had the other side on here, so.
Yeah, and also to be clear as well, I have not signed like an NDA or.
Fuck.
I mean, there's genuinely nothing that's been signed. You haven't given me $1 million.
No. Hey, you should. I
Yet.
haven't given you a penny.
A penny.
'Cause they're
Okay,
gonna-
yeah.
You gave me 999.
Nothing. You've given me nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually just it's kind of interesting. It really is interesting. This is a bold move, I would consider.
Yeah.
It's quite a bold move.
And it's even.
No, it's fucking
horrible
not.
to ever put people on camera run. Like,
yes, it's from a lot of perspectives. It is quite bold, and it's not like I haven't been critical. I feel like I've been fairly critical. I feel, and like talking to you, I feel bad. You know, obviously because I'm a person. There's different levels to how much you care about shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is. If there were a testament, it would be that would be a testament to this being being a meaningful source of information in this video. I feel like. I hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is definitely outside my comfort zone, but I think it's important.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's kind of past like the main initial allegations.
Fucking retard.
Sort of corporate culture and HR practices. That's been a big sort of point that a lot of
Not
critics have hammered
autistic.
home.
That's not an insult, bro. Retarded is.
Hell yeah. So there have been a lot of questions about your workplace culture, such as a lack of diversity or also HR problems. What, if anything, have you done to address these concerns? How have you handled it since information came out, and how do you plan on handling it in the future?
Okay, so we'll start with the diversity one. If I forget the HR one, just bring it up when I finish that one. Diversity, I have seen a lot of people mention that about our company, which, I mean, that one's just not even true. Like, fee schools, for example.
Doesn't take the criticism.
A couple months old.
Okay,
like,
okay.
Almost 70%
Remember,
of our company is women.
I said he wouldn't take criticism one time this whole fucking video. These 2 fucking hours, not one time will he say, yeah, okay.
Crazy amount of diversity in our
That was
company.
wrong.
So, because, we have 400 people that work for me. It's not just me and the boys on the camera, which is the 5 you see. So that one, the few people have claimed that, like, they don't have any data to back it up. So I guess I probably should have brought some data here. I don't want to just say percentages off the top of my head.
If you have, I'm sure you've got some kind of.
Yeah, I should claim that me and the company. So, because we have 400 people that work for me. It's not just me and the boys on the camera, which is the 5 you see. So that one, the few people have claimed that, like, they don't have any data to back it up. So
Is he gonna show something?
I guess I probably should have brought some data here. I don't want to just say percentages off the top of
If
my head.
if you have, I'm sure you've got some kind of.
Yeah, but I really, that one, I just don't think is rooted in anything. And then, what was the second part?
HR, yeah. How have you handled?
Was there one before? Wait, was there one before?
About our
information came out. It came out and had.
When I finished that one, like, I mean, fee schools, for example, a couple months old, but like almost 70% of our company is women, and we actually
No.
studios around the world. Now
He's been presenting information, but there's none for this one.
Specifically, because our videos have gotten so big, I mean, I'm going to give a little range because depending on how many people we've hired in the last month, we've gotten so big. I mean, I think they think my channel is just like 5 people or 10 people or 20, whatever. Like, they don't realize the size of it. Like, specifically because our videos have gotten so big, I mean,
I think everybody realizes the size of it, you fucking retard.
last month, it's somewhere between like 250 or 300 people work.
Nobody thinks you're
at
10
my
people
production company,
making
so
that
this is-
kind of fucking content,
There's a lot of people,
dumbass.
and then on top of that, we do like bigger videos where we need to build big sets or whatever. Sometimes we bring in hundreds of contractors. So there's a lot of people that work here, and like, I just want to blanketly say, like, companies at this size, like,
You're
you
not
can't
at your
ever
company,
guarantee
bro.
Every interaction everyone's gonna have is always gonna be positive with each other. You know what I mean? That's just impossible. So I want to start off by just saying that, because I don't want people to watch this and then like a year from now, like, hear some rumor and be like, oh, Jimmy didn't learn. Like, any company of this size, there's always going to be some problem someone has. Now, having said that, I'm not trying to use it as like a blanket of like, see, and shield myself. There are 2 things that are like someone in my position who runs a company like this is in control of. One is, making sure we're not fostering anything inappropriate and, allowing it. And then 2, when it inevitably happens, because it just will in a company my size. And I'm trying to be transparent here. Like, it's, how do you respond to it? And then, like, in the making sure you're not fostering it, part of Quinn and Manuel, when we had them do their investigation, is I had them look at every system in my company. I had them talk to my employees and see if there's anything they could bring to Quinn and Manuel's attention that they could make me aware of. And like, I think it was in the report, is like, we established an anonymous hotline, because Quinn and Manuel was showing me data that, like, sometimes people don't feel comfortable talking to HR or their boss, and like, if you have an anonymous hotline that goes to someone outside the company that can hear a complaint and then beam it into you without disclosing who it was, like, you'll get more honest feedback, because there's like, so they showed us a lot of things like that. Also, in making sure we're not fostering it. Like I think it's also in there as well. We leveled up like our C-suite, because I've had a lot of people that have grown with me, but like me, they've never ran a company that has hundreds of employees before. So I actually just hired a couple people who have worked on Fortune 500 companies who have actually ran companies of this size before. And so, you know, they're showing me lots of things that bigger companies do that obviously I'm just ignorant on because I'm a YouTuber. You know what I mean? I spend my life staring at retention charts and CTR, not how to structure a business. So just that's phase one, is making sure you're not fostering, you know, a culture that supports that stuff. And then inevitably, like I said, you can't ever guarantee when you're working with hundreds of people full time, and then when you add part-time people, potentially over 1,000 sometimes, you just got to make sure if there are issues that, you know, actual real issues, like if someone complains because someone peed on a toilet seat, like I'm not, oh well. But if there's an actual serious issue, then, you know, we'll bring in professionals who experience and, you know, getting down to it, interview them, gather the information. I'll recuse myself. I don't want to be the arbiter of truth. And then, you know, those experts who are experienced in handling those things, they'll tell me how to handle it. If they tell me to fire someone, I fire them. If they tell me to whatever, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the one who makes those decisions. So, and transparency, that's kind of, you know.
So yeah, so I think this is one where a lot of YouTubers, people who cover this type of thing,
Okay.
that HR is
That sounded so. I don't. Whatever though.
organism in business, and if you don't maintain it, it can become a problem for a normal business. But when your business is someone like you whose reputation is on the line, I also have like a bunch of businesses. I've got 60 employees, and we have an HR department, and like something happens once a month where someone gets an anonymous report, and then we have to solve that problem. And then we actually
You're evil.
Yeah, and that's you know, that's how it feels sometimes. Yeah. But I'm not involved, obviously, in that stuff, and my YouTube side is very compartmentalized. So the way that I do that, it makes sense to me. I want to be as detached as much as possible from the day-to-day operations of like the actual business. You're saying you're running the company. Is there a world in which what is your job title? Is there a world in which you step back and you're just like not an actor necessarily, but you're the guy, you're Mr. Beast, and you let the business be operated by an entity to where you can stand beside it essentially, instead of being at the head of it?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's my channel, it's my company, so I wouldn't take it that far. I think, like, the big thing is just bringing in people who have actually ran a company at this size before, because eventually I will be more educated and knowledgeable. Like, every day, I'm learning more on, like, how to properly run a company with hundreds of people and better do it, but I'm still very ignorant. Like, I probably crossed 100 employees like 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, but it's still just growing. So like, because across everything, you know, if you include Feastables and ViewStats, we have over 400 employees. It's a learning thing. But that's the thing. While I'm learning, I need to bring in people who have been there and, you know, learn from them.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no replacement for just experience, right?
Exactly.
Like, you can be as smart as anybody, but if you haven't been able to go through the things you've gone through and like things just personally that I know that I've gone through and learned from business, it's not possible to know. It's not possible to know how to react to those things, or you know, that's why I sort of try to do my best to compartmentalize my business. Obviously, different beast than what you're operating, but it just it's just you know, it's difficult, and it does make sense. And you've used the word ignorant a couple times. You know, I'd be interested to see how changes are made after this, which you've already made a lot of changes, obviously. Anonymous reporting is the biggest one for HR. Yeah. That's like been a
and it's like, that's one of those things where, you know, like, it's not like I was like, oh, we don't need, I just didn't know. Like, I never seen the data they showed me, and like, if any other people have this kind of stuff, like, I'm always open to learning.
Of course, yeah, and I think the most important thing too is, like, at the end of the day, you've got the most to gain from all this.
Exactly. I want my employees happy. I gain nothing out of them not being happy. Like, it hurts me. It's like I have a monetarily incentivization to do this.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I feel like the criticism of entities like yours and even mine, with truth, obviously, and like logic, and there's a real basis of rationale that makes sense. It's centered in reality. Yeah. I feel like that's super important because, once again, you have so much to gain, and like, you spend less, you make a little bit less money, but your employees are substantially happier, and they feel you know, safer or just more confident in you as their leader or their boss. So it's like, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how all this kind of
goes from here after this point, especially.
Yeah.
This is a big moment.
I know. The interview, the day of the interview.
But that makes sense, though. I mean, and like I don't want to continuously interject my own business experience, but I think it does set me apart from other YouTubers who are involved in this, in that I do have business experience. From it, sort of the same thing. I just fell into running actual businesses and having to do payroll and HR, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
I had no idea any of this stuff existed, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get fucked. Your mom was previously head of your HR department. And some people have criticized that as a conflict.
Bro, what happened to
Did you
him?
personally,
For
at
that
the time, even
bit
consider that? And do you now also acknowledge that that is a conflict of interest?
Oh, I agree. That's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
I do think context matters, though, because like this is where a lot of these things that I assume we're going to talk about is like people conflate current Mr. Beast with 400
Didn't take
employees
criticism.
getting hundreds of millions of dollars a year with Mr. Beast when he's a teenager and starting. I mean, when I first started hiring people, it was like, oh, we went to high school together. You want to help me make videos? And I hired a couple of my friends for high school. And then I was like, how do I do taxes and this kind of stuff? And I was like, Mom, help. And I mean, I wouldn't say she's head of HR. I mean, she was, I guess, but she was also running finance, and it's not like a real company. We just get in this like little $700 no, actually that one was $1,080 a month office I was renting, and I'd just be like to this one guy that I knew from high school, all right, today you're gonna go paint this thing. Today, you friend number 2, you're gonna like help me edit this, and you friend number 3, you're gonna go to the store and buy 1,000 chickens that like scream when you press down on them. And Mom, I don't know, just make sure the IRS doesn't sue me. Like that's the time frame we're talking about here. But yes, I agree. Like it's stupid. Like you definitely shouldn't have your mom as an HR person. You should just hire someone who was educated in HR, which is obviously what we have. We have an HR team now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think, and that's sort of like one of the weird things from just a business perspective. Once again, it's like someone becomes HR by default. Even if you don't say, well, this is the HR person, this is our contact.
I mean, because like back then, it's like, I mean, if you had a problem, just tell me. There's like 5 of us.
That's great.
But yes, but still, I'm like, in this, I'm not trying to like deflect everything. Like, I mean, yes, obviously you should hire an actual HR person. Agreed.
That's good advice.
Yes.
That's sound advice. I do agree with that.
Shocker.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm not gonna take the L on that one. That one doesn't count. It's not really taking criticism.
That was crazy. I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, "What?"
He said like,
What, you're answering
yeah,
for me?
maybe you should hire an HR person.
It was criticized,
But,
especially by Soggy recently, of having been taken out of context. Can you explain what the no doesn't mean no policy was and why it was in the?
Yes. So it's funny, even the word like policy. It's like so when we started hiring more people, I wrote this little I almost like advice book just for a lot of employees, because I wasn't able to talk with people as much as I was early on. And one part of it that people, when this thing got leaked, and I wrote it with some other people in my company, it wasn't just me, but when this got leaked, there's a section that said no does not mean no, and then they just like cropped that out, and they're like, look, this is proof Jimmy's immoral and evil. When obviously, like you were saying, if you read the context below, it makes sense. The gist of why we had a section that said no does not mean no is because we do, I don't know if anyone's ever seen our videos, crazy things that have never been done before, right? No one's ever, on YouTube at least, buried themselves alive.
You're a fucking retard. This is such a fucking retarded deflection by this ugly little motherfucker. It's not about it saying no does not mean no. It's about you doing this retarded shit. Fuck. He's not gonna say it in
7 days, no one like tries to dangle an obstacle course from cranes, and it's like the problem I kept running into early on when I was hiring people is I'd be like, hey, I want to do this, and then they would go call someone. So like, let's say the obstacle course in the sky, where we had like these obstacle courses that Mac did, held up by these cranes, weighed like 100,000 pounds or whatever. Like they would call crane companies and they'd be like, no, and then they'd be like, okay, hang up, and they come to me and they go, Jimmy, they said no, we can't do it. The video's not possible. And it's like, okay, well, of course they're gonna say no, because everything we do has never been done before. But like, ask them why. Like obviously, if they don't be rude, but if they say no, just try to understand why, right? And a lot of times you'll have an instance where like, well, we can't get all the cranes at one time because we're renting them out. And it's like, okay, perfect. we respect that, but can I offer something before you actually hard say no? What if we went to the 2 or 3 other clients that day that rented the cranes, we paid them 5 times the amount of money they paid to rent those cranes to just, rent them a week later, and let's just see. And then the company would usually be like, oh, you would do that? It's like, yeah, like we want to work with you to find a solution to make your problem our problem and solve it. And then then a hard no will 50% of the time turn into, oh, well, yeah, actually we can do it if you're willing to spend a little extra money or whatever. So that was me trying to educate my employees on that. And somehow, well, I don't know, I'm not even going to say somehow, I know how. I mean, people who didn't care about the truth and just, wanted to spread disinformation and manipulate and lie to millions of people, which it worked, spun that into, I'm not even going to state the obvious, but, which made no sense because the context for it was literally written right below.
Bro, you're fucking retarded. Nobody spun it into that.
Intent of certain people.
Yeah, because no doesn't mean no. That is there's just a massive, heavy negative connotation with that, obviously, in the zeitgeist. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense in a vacuum, or, with
No! Fuck you! God,
sense.
I hate this guy too.
If I were to be like, yeah, this guy, Mr. Beast, is getting canceled for all kinds of crazy shit. He has a no doesn't mean no policy. Anyways, that's crazy.
I know.
That's fucking
And you should
insane.
throw it on screen so your viewers can
so they can actually see the
so you
full
can see
thing,
the context because it clearly lays it out. So no one actually saw that and thought what
Everybody fucking.
They just willfully were ignorant so they could get 1 out of 10s and make some money. That's the truth. I'm sorry, but
Now on to sort of content production and the question of authenticity behind the content that you make.
No, I'm fucking done with this.
There have
Fuck
been,
this guy.
claims
Fuck this
that you
guy.
use some CGI in your videos
I don't give a
that
fuck. I don't give a fuck anymore, bruh. Might watch it some more later. What does the needle drop say about Kendrick?
Hi everyone, Big Thinny Thrill Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. It's time for a review of the new Kendrick Lamar album, GNX. Kendrick, Lamar, Duckworth, Compton rapper, generational talent, someone considered by many to be one of the best songwriters of his generation. He has long been both a rapper's rapper and somebody whose creative appeal transcends the genre itself, as his music and name tends to command respect with music fans of all stripes. That's not to say he and his work aren't ever polarizing or controversial. After all, this 6th album of his is driving a lot of discourse right now, but way before this record came out, Kendrick was already having a pretty hot 2024. As this past spring, he came out the victor in a multi-track beef with commercial Canadian hip-hop titan Drake. If there is such a thing in the modern rap landscape as a multinational bank that's too big to fail, that's Drake. Because recently he's been releasing a lot of music that many consider to not really hold a candle to his more classic works, and yet he continues to hold strong as the most streamed modern rap artist today. And his unwavering grip on the industry these days is something he seems to be very well aware of, and he operates as such. Whether he's putting little effort into an uninspired collaboration or song, or sending out not-so-subliminal shots on a group of bars, or making cavalier comments in hermetically sealed interviews and promotional interactions where he is not likely to see much pushback. And for a while it kind of seemed like this was just the state of things in popular music and popular hip-hop today, that they weren't really going to change or shift in any direction, see a shake-up in any way, until the song Like That hit the internet. The song off of the Metro Boomin and Future project, We Don't Trust You, that dropped recently, which featured Kendrick Lamar, and yes, on that track, Kendrick fired off a few shots that basically got this domino effect going. No big three, just big me. J. Cole responds, he apologizes. Drake jumps in, he's responding to a bunch of people. Kendrick's responding to Drake. Tracks are going back and forth. Drake's getting called up. on a song that managed to become one of the biggest hits of the year. Talk about a series of events. But while Drake has been mostly in reset mode at this point, kind of waiting for the moment where he can kind of re-enter things and act like everything is normal, Kendrick has been doing victory lap after victory lap after victory lap with music videos and the pop-out show and the announcement he's going to play the next Super Bowl. And now he has a whole new album out that he dropped with no warning whatsoever outside of a 1-minute video and music snippet teaser. Mind you, the music featured in that teaser, none of that music is actually on this record. So who knows if Kendrick has other stuff locked and loaded still. The man does like to tease. But yeah, the title of this record is GNX, which is short for Grand National Experimental, a Buick model that was produced in the late 80s that is also presumably featured on the front cover of this album and is mentioned in the lyrics of this record at least a few times. Okay, let me start to really dig into this album because it's a bit of an interesting one to explain context-wise. Like, what's the sound? What's the narrative? What's the direction on this project? I'll put it this way. There's been a lot of conversation in recent months about Kendrick Lamar kind of being the rapper of the year in 2024. The only real output people would have to base that accolade off of are the diss tracks he wrote against Drake. And there are some people who, for whatever reason, believe that you can't be rapper of the year off a few diss tracks. How are you rapper of the year and you haven't had a project out? Well, here is the project. And in some ways with this record, it feels like Kendrick has kind of like bottled up the aesthetics, the vibes, the energy, the in-your-face attitude, the callbacks to classic West Coast shades of hip-hop, the lyricism, also the fact that he is taking no prisoners and responding to and addressing those in rap music and beyond who just refuse to show him respect and give him the accolades that he deserves. He's just bottling all of that up into an album. A very short, punchy, to-the-point, merciless record that has some very thoughtful and personal pockets held within it as well. In fact, I would actually say this is one of Kendrick's best sequenced albums to date. It's a very smooth, versatile, entertaining listen with many different tracks that scratch many different itches. And let's start digging into the progression of the album, starting with the opener, Whacked Out Murals. In true Kendrick Lamar fashion, the first few seconds of this track are colored by some very odd and eerie vocal harmonies and a guest vocalist who's brought in to set some sort of narrative tone. In this case, it's Dara Barrera, a Mexican mariachi singer, who turns up now and also in the middle and toward the end of the album. And to put it in the nerdiest terms possible, this is a very Lamarian device at this point. Like, we know on his albums, Kendrick likes to commit to bits, create threads that kind of run throughout multiple tracks, as well as plant Easter eggs and create thoughtful references. Now, some fans read into this stuff in a way that's just downright conspiratorial, but considering he's done stuff along these lines in the past, I don't think it's out of pocket to presume that all of these appearances are connected somehow. And if you assemble all of Barrera's lines throughout the record in English, it translates roughly to something like, I feel your presence here, last night, and we start to cry, that reflects in your gaze, the night, you and me, seated, Anita and you. This could be a nod to singer Anita Baker, who is also referenced on the record in Kendrick's lyrics, because this album isn't just simply about encapsulating the flows and the confrontational vibe of the Drake disses, as well as the Watch the Party Die single. Here is the Air Force Ones on the single cover art. No, this record isn't just about that, because like most Kendrick Lamar projects, this album is also a continuation of his relationship with his craft and art at large, as there are numerous meditations across this record that are essentially about the power of music, the importance of not misusing your influence, your abilities, which, if you're to go by the lyrics on this record, are something that Kendrick still sees very much as a godly gift. One he is still figuring out how to wield authentically and in a way that manifests the greatest net positive benefit, which makes for a compelling narrative, but still a surprising one to see crop up again on an album, especially after seeing Kendrick wrestle his savior complex into submission a few years ago on his Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album. You heard it, this man very clearly on that record came to the conclusion that his efforts on this front were mostly futile and that it was more important to save himself and work toward the health and safety of his family, of his children, of his loved ones, and break these cycles of distrust and dishonesty and abuse in his own life. And this is kind of funny, especially in the wake of this recent beef with Drake, because Kendrick's biggest detractors are constantly on the search for something about him that is inconsistent or hypocritical, and they can't really seem to land on the character flaw that is staring them right in the face, or at least they can't make it work against him in a measurable way. But still to this day, Kendrick is infatuated with the idea of his talents and the power of music having the capacity to enact some greater, some positive, some necessary change. And while part of me wants to buy into that because undeniably the talent is there, plus I, as a music fan myself, have experienced and also witnessed the powerful changes that music can bring. Still though, Kendrick's motivations at times do read as kind of self-serving, even if he does on this very album call his own motivations into question from time to time. Because, I mean, one track on this record is pretty much 3 straight minutes of him telling us that he deserves pretty much every accolade and opportunity and word of praise that we could conjure for him. And sure, while lots of rappers past and present have told us in one way or another that they're the best, they're the greatest, this Man at the Garden track is a goddamn treatise on why Kendrick Lamar deserves that #1 spot. And it's musically designed to whip you up into an emotional frenzy at the very end that'll have you being like, oh yes, Kendrick, you deserve everything. Which, while sure that read of the song is a bit reductive, we can't pretend like Kendrick's self-interest on this song doesn't factor at all, and it is worth asking, am I being initiated into a cult here? But wasn't I explaining the intro? Whacked out murals? I've digressed here. I'm going to digress further and sort of try to sum up this record by saying it's a loosely conceptualized flurry of ignorant West Coast bangers, melodic jams, as well as heady writing exercises that remind me of the genetic makeup of Damn, Kendrick Lamar's huge, commercially successful 2017 record, which, for me personally, really ranks as the weakest of his big studio album releases, but I think GNX succeeds where Damn faltered. The bops on this thing hit hard. And not only do they hit hard, but they are just downright ridiculously visceral and in your face, and they are aggressive, they are mean, they're stupidly smart and endlessly charismatic too, and the smoother, more low-key cuts on the record are equally addictive. Finally, these more lyrically dense cuts on the records, while they are more compartmentalized than they might be on a more narrative or grand conceptual record from Kendrick, they still involve some of the best storytelling of his career so far. So again, Whacked Out Murals intro track, which is really this slow-burning cinematic start to the album. Kendrick's flows are steady, and he delivers them with this really frustrated tone of voice. It sounds like he's rapping through clenched teeth a lot of the time. There's a real dry vocal mix on this track too, and a lot of other cuts on this record as well. With the way this was EQ'd and recorded, he could have laid this thing down in his kitchen for all I know. And I feel like going about it in this way, sort of forgoing a lot of the vocal acrobatics and the layers and the touch-ups that we might have heard on previous Kendrick records, makes for a more raw and wild and just kind of like blunt experience and listen. Now, I think the main angle of these bars and this album at large is pretty straightforward. It is stated in a simple line, fuck a double entendre, I want y'all to feel this shit. And true to his word, GNX is maybe Kendrick's most what you see is what you get project yet, because he does not mince words as he portrays his current state. He sees a lot of jealousy being thrown his way in his position with his success, as he opens this song with the story of a defaced Kendrick Lamar mural that was put up in Compton that snowballs into being disliked by many of his contemporaries. Also, Lil Wayne having words about being unhappy with being passed over for the upcoming Super Bowl halftime show performance, which Kendrick Lamar is headlining. He shouts out Nas for congratulating him, also mentions Snoop Dogg for sharing that Tupac, Snoop Dogg, AI, Drake conceptualized, tailor-made diss track months back. At the end of the day, he portrays this gap in success and popularity between him and everyone else to the work that he puts in, and encourages those who want to get to where he's at to do the same kind of work that he's doing. Maybe you'll see the same sort of success. I think this sort of rolls into sentiments around him wanting to see the party die, calling back again to that Watch the Party Die single. Okay, fuck your hip-hop, I watched the party just die. Dudes cackling about blank, edit, blank there, not mentioning who they're cackling about, while all of y'all is on trial, which, yes, it's an edit on the line, but the intentions are still clear, because people could either be laughing at the downfall of Drake or figures like Diddy in the wake of accusations or stuff like that that have been thrown their way, but the issues on this front Kendrick has been trying to highlight through his diss tracks, through his recent material, they don't boil down to just two guys. So with this modus operandi type track, Kendrick really tells us what he's about to tell us, and then the underlying implications of that play out with the rest of the album. As with the next track, you get Squabble Up, and the beauty of this synthy Bay Area smash is that honestly, you don't really need to spend a lot of time explaining it. Its appeal is instantaneous, it's incredibly catchy, it's also deeply West Coast aesthetically, with the synced up bass hits and the claps and all the open hi-hat hits, and some really awesome touches of electro-era synths all over the track, as well as a freestyle music vocal snippet from Debbie Deb's 1983 cut, When I Hear Music. When I hear music, it makes me dance. Meanwhile, Kendrick's flows and bars throughout the song are smooth and effortless, yet still eccentric and over the top. With these froggy inflections, he gives us lines like, woke up looking for the broccoli, hockey, keep a horn on me, that kamasi, and really leans into like the weirder pockets of his voice when he's giving us refrains like, I feel good, get the fuck out of my face. It's absolutely insane and calls back to recent collaborations, in my opinion, that he's had with his cousin, Baby Keem, where in his featured verses, he's tended to get a bit silly. And yes, here too, getting silly, but still seriously catchy and hard. Next, I'd like to sort of highlight the fact that this album just has such a great flow to it, track to track to track, because there's so much contrast across the album, and each song sort of seems like, in a way, a response to the one previous, as things next after Squabble Up smooth out with Luther, which is very much a sensual romantic jam with SZA, loaded with storybook strings, twinkly guitars, a head-nodding beat, not to mention...
I want to listen to this. This sounds really good. But what I was going to say, that I really kind of want to buckle down and make an album in like the next year. And get it out like as quickly as possible, because I have like a lot of stuff I want to do soon, and like I think I do have like this idea on stuff that I've been like ruminating on. So, but okay, next stream tomorrow. Tomorrow we have music theory. We're getting into the theory.
Some very strategically placed vocal drops pulled right out of a duet featuring the great Luther Vandross and Cheryl Lynn. In this world mine. And Kendrick and SZA's vocals just come together impeccably on this song. Now things get quite serious from here, less idyllic on Man at the Garden, where once again Kendrick is clearly being driven by that savior complex and also that desire to succeed. And while he does feel owed something for his efforts, he would also like to extend the benefits of that work to his mother, to his kids, to his loved ones, as you do when you are a family man. The track comes to a very grand finish with a lot of faster, intense rapping that is layered up much in the same way that it was at the finish of Meet the Grams. It's also important to note that much of the beat and the chord progression on this track feels like a very conscious nod to Nas's One Mic, but it's clearly varied up enough to the point where, it's not a cover or a redo or anything like that. It's really Kendrick making the case for himself in a lot of ways, showing us that he has the capacity to live up to the greatness that his forefathers, that the pioneers of the golden age of rap before him, set. And while I do think there is an argument to be made that this track could read as really quite pretentious on Kendrick's part, I don't know if there's anyone in his generation that is as effectively able to make the case he's making for himself on this track as well as he is. We head back into banger territory in the track list on Hey Now, which features another minimal beat. It's super bassy, lots of eerie, rhythmic scraping in the background that somehow just works. Hey now, say now, I'm all about my yen. Big face Buddha, get my peace from within. So many snappy turns of phrase on this track. A slick and colorful delivery, which Kendrick turns the energy up on in the second verse. Also, the intergalactic synth bridge and the vocal harmonies on the bridge are incredible. It's amazing to hear this song kind of build from this very dark and grimy place to something that is really quite intergalactic and harmonious. Beyond this, we move into a very strong centerpiece for the album, Reincarnated. Now, if I wanted to, I feel like I could do an entire video on this single track alone, between the various references throughout the track, the narrative layers, the concept. Also, right out of the gate, the beat and flow on this song is a retooling of a classic Tupac and Outlaw's track. And like with that Nas One Mic callback, Kendrick seems to just really be feeling himself, feeling the capacity to borrow from a great who he holds in such high regard as Tupac, and take that track and just elevate it to a totally different place conceptually, as he gives us the life stories, in a sense, of these pioneering musical figures. One, a rhythm and blues artist, another, presumably Billie Holiday, given the specifics of when and where and the heroin addiction narrative. And in each of these stories, we see these figures being undone by their vices and by their greed, which their fame and their success allowed them to indulge in. Fast forward to present day, where we have Kendrick Lamar, who very much sees his talents and abilities and influence as something that is being kind of reincarnated within himself. Also, keep in mind, once again, we are doing a Tupac callback here, and Kendrick explores this dynamic within himself again and plays it out through this conversation with God, where he explains that he has very good intentions with everything that he does, but God calls him out on a bunch of faults that he doesn't even seem to be fully aware of or convinced of. Now, to be clear, Kendrick does portray himself on this song as somebody who, has his problems and has his shortcomings. And I think the greater point of this song is honestly that he feels like he is being called upon to essentially play out this same role in a way, where he's been given this gift or this golden opportunity, and we're still kind of sitting here and waiting to see whether or not it manifests in his self-destruction. And while Kendrick does end the song off on a strong bar, in so many ways this story is still being written. Now, after getting heady and conceptual, we go into TV Off, which honestly is a lot like Not Like Us, and that's an understatement. It kind of feels like Kendrick is giving us a different message in the same Not Like Us font. It's a bizarro version of the song, still produced by DJ Mustard, but it's very much a banger, and the track has so many explosive moments and quotables. All they ever wanted was a black Grand National, fuck being rational, give them what they asked for. More smooth, effortless, low-key charisma, and the beat switch on the back end that leads into the iconic mustard scream, which everybody has been copying all over the internet. The track is just a non-stop hype train, and proof that Kendrick can, like, do another victory lap and also write a banger that isn't outright a diss. And it still catches on, people still repeat parts of it, people still freak out over it, because if there was any sort of like prevailing criticism of Not Like Us when it dropped and people saw the success of it, it's that, oh, well, you know, the song wouldn't be as popular, people wouldn't like it as much, people wouldn't be having as much fun with it if it weren't a diss track. Well, here's like nearly the same song,
It's a fucking diss track.
but not a diss, and it still goes hard as fuck. After this, we cool down with the song Dodger Blue, which is kind of like a very chill, melodic late-night drive anthem with a smattering of different hi-hat tones and patterns, splashy delays, a fat synth bass line too that sounds amazing. There's some throwback R&B touches as well. It's just an absolute vibe, really the vibiest track on the entire record, and honestly, I think the only thing that kind of makes it is that it could have been longer. It actually could have been like another minute or so longer. The song Peekaboo is also quiet and skeletal, but it's taking things in a much more grim direction. I love the hurried refrain that is kind of like a meta commentary in and of itself. It's like Kendrick is essentially coming on here to make a nonsense bullshit type track that doesn't really say or communicate much as a means of making fun of other rap music that also doesn't communicate much. But still, even as Kendrick is saying nothing, it's still going to get stuck in your head. It's still going to make you laugh. He's still going to make a point or two like, why are you acting hard on IG Live? Isn't that kind of silly? Also, beam, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam. The type of shit I'm on you wouldn't understand. It sounds like something out of an old Lil B song or like Super Hot Fire sketch. And with LA rapper AZ Chike, Kendrick gets more trades in that are, again, full of chemistry and very catchy. Following this, we have another track that is kind of like another cheeky little allusion to the beef that just went down between Kendrick and Drake. That would be The Hard Part 6, which is this ongoing song and single series that, you know, famously so far hasn't usually typically featured in the main course of any Kendrick record up until this point, but he's putting it right toward the end on this album because if you remember in this series of tracks that were, you know, disses and traded back and forth between Kendrick and Drake, Drake's final response to Kendrick was titled The Hard Part 6. You know, was obviously his own funny little way of being like, well, I'm going to use your own song series idea title thing against you, which, you know, admirable move. The track ended up being kind of like trash, and it was clear that his heart wasn't really in the song, and it ended up not really doing much. But now Kendrick is very much taking the opportunity to do his own Heart Part 6, and yeah, he pretty much like sidesteps any drama beyond the, you know, title being his here, claiming it, reclaiming it, and essentially tells like a really beautiful slice of life kind of story about how he came up originally as a rapper in kind of that TDE ecosystem, his former label Top Dog Entertainment. And he's mentioning Punch and Ab Soul and Schoolboy Q and J-Rock, also producer Soundwave, whose fingerprints are all over this new record as well. And this was a really important tale to tell because these are intimate details of this time, this era in Kendrick's life that we haven't gotten a lot of peeks into to up until this point, outside of like interviews here and there. And it's just significant, I think, to frame things in a way that gets people to understand that Kendrick, while he is often seen as, you know, that guy, that one guy, his fame and his success isn't owed simply to him. It took a lot of other people influencing him and inspiring him and supporting him to get him to this point. The title track on the record is this wild ass posse cut featuring a bunch of LA guys over this instrumental that is just total madness. It sounds like getting wasted and using Fruity Loops for the first time. There's an absolutely nutty vocal mix on this track too. The bass is just overbearing and the groove is very odd. There's some rushes of strings too. Really the rapping and flows over it is so confident and so steady that it kind of makes up for it and brings some order to the chaos. I think it's my least favorite track on the album, but it is a genuinely ballsy and unhinged effort that despite it being a little unpalatable, I still kind of admire it. And then there's Gloria, the very grand and personal finisher for the record, where in so many words, to put it very simply, Kendrick essentially writes about his writing process, his pen, as it were, and details his relationship with that as if it was a personal or a romantic connection with another person. And there are some issues there. There's highs and lows. There's maybe even a bit of a dependency. It may not be the healthiest of relationships, but it's gotten him to where he is today. And, you know, it's always kind of been there for him and been there with him, no matter what he was going through. The track is just thoughtful and poetic beyond words. I know similar ones have been written in the past, but Kendrick definitely puts his own spin on this formula. I think it's a track that is beyond words to an extent. It really needs to be experienced for what it is. And yeah, no line hits harder on this track than when he says, "Ain't no bitch like my bitch, cause that bitch been my pen." And that's this record, man. I think it's great. I'm loving the hell out of it. It's impressive, it's hard hitting, it's catchy, it's direct and to the point. It is loaded with personality and wit and charisma, memorable beats and choruses and narrative concepts, passionate performances too. I really truly think this is Kendrick's best and most focused and most cohesive work since TPAB, though the reasons I enjoy it are really entirely different in a lot of ways. And yet this new record over here is still incredible on its own merits. It's not like, you know, Kendrick is an artist who's running out of gas, running out of steam, trying to recreate the same magic of a past success on this album. He's pushing forward. He's trying new things. He's experimenting and making waves in the process. I'm going to end this review here before I run out of goddamn breath, and I'm going to say I'm feeling a light 9 on it. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best or the best. What should I review next?
Make
Hit
it
the like,
big,
if you like,
yeah.
please subscribe.
Where's
Please
my
subscribe. Hit the bell as
mod?
well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Kendrick Lamar, forever.
I'm sad. I treated my mod poorly the other day, and he's not around anymore. Maybe he hates me now.
Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well, because
Subscribe to the channel, Anthony Fantano.
Oh, this sounds horrible. I'm sad. I treated my mod poorly the other day, and he's not around anymore.
nerd, I hope you're doing well, because
What? Whoa. Gotta lower the volume. Boy! Boy! lmao. Yeah, I'm gonna be right back. Wait. Unless somebody says something right now. Right now. Unless somebody wants something right now. Nope. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I'll be right back. Hello, 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 hello. How is everyone? I just had my big old meal. Now I'm gonna have my cigarette. Nobody here anyway, I think. So I'll be right back if there is anybody here. Bye. Sorry, it took longer than expected. lmao. I need to do this fucking painting. Well, I don't need to do it right now, but I do. I should. I really should. Because I don't have much time, and I have a lot of shit to do. I finish all of it this week. If I don't, I'm screwed. I thought it was horrendous, yeah. So yeah, I heard it's good. Philip DeFranco said it was good.
Woo! I thought this was never gonna come out. Yes, it's been a long and arduous yellow brick road to get to this. The Wicked movie, part 1. So many ridiculous things happened along the way. Years of delays, the announcement that this was going to be 2 parts that left most of us befuddled, the scandalous affair between Ariana Grande and the guy who played SpongeBob on Broadway after they met on the set of this movie, Cynthia Erivo having a meltdown because a fan made an edit of the poster so it looks like the Broadway poster, the back of Wicked dolls having the URL of a porn site. What a journey. And through it all, I have to say, I was not really looking that forward to the movie. Wicked isn't my favorite musical. Hell, it's not even my favorite Stephen Schwartz musical. I like it. I've always thought it was pretty good. But it has a lot of storytelling shortcomings, mainly in its attempts to awkwardly shoehorn in elements of The Wizard of Oz in ways that don't really make a lot of sense. The big moments and songs everyone loves hit just as hard for me as they do for other people. But I don't know if the glue holding it together is as strong. The thing is, though, it recently occurred to me that most of my problems with Wicked are strictly just in the second act. I always found the first act pretty solid, and the second is where all the clunkiness comes in. And hey, here's a movie that's just the first act of Wicked. Surely that means I should be excited to see it, right? Yeah, no. Like I said earlier, I was mostly just baffled that a 2.5-hour musical was being stretched so that the first act was 2.5 hours. That sounded like a pacing disaster with a lot of unnecessary bullshit added. So I kinda just assumed I wasn't gonna have a good time with this movie. And guys, let me tell you what. I made a mistake. Wicked is really good. Like shockingly so. I know a lot of us thought it was gonna suck because of that other issue, and yeah, don't worry, we'll get to that. But for the most part, this is kind of a stunningly great stage-to-screen adaptation. I was dumbfounded at how well it flowed. Like, it's been a while since I saw the stage show, but it really felt like there wasn't that many things they added.
Well, okay, I don't care. Fuck this.
Seriously, it must be
Okay,
witchcraft
he liked
because
it.
this
Good.
movie
Whatever.
is
God, cares.
Hey, it's me, the soy pill. This may come as a shock to some of you, but I'm a progressive. Most of the reasons for my ideology are fairly obvious. I agree with progressive politics, like universal health care or higher taxes on the wealthy, so I vote progressive. Easy peasy, soy bottle squeezy. But I'm also progressive because most of the alternatives, specifically the conservative alternatives, make absolutely no sense to me. Now, on one hand, I can sympathize with fiscal responsibility people, or even anti-abortion people. Economics is complicated, and there's arguments to be made for certain conservative fiscal policies. And with abortion, there's a philosophical conversation to be had about when a person becomes a person. Bodily autonomy. Should it be legal to kill your annoying 2-year-old? But on the other hand, there is zero room in my brain for climate change is a hoax. Gay people are an abomination because God said so. The 2020 election was stolen. Or Ann Coulter is funny.
I mean, okay, Ann Coulter for conservatives is funny.
Conservatives, you know when you ask a Democrat to define a semi-automatic gun and you watch them describe a sci-fi weapon of mass destruction and then lambast you and all of your conservative friends for wanting to shoot babies? You don't have to Google some study to show them wrong or whip out your strongest debate tactics. It's just so self-evidently not true that you can brush it off immediately. Well, that's how I feel every time you say stuff like, trans women just want to molest cis women in the bathroom and Democrats want this molestation to happen. Or democratic socialism will destroy this country and turn us into an authoritarian nightmare. I've lived in democratic socialist countries with high taxes, and it's just not that. And if you made some friends with any trans woman, you'd know that they're just trying to pee. It's not that complicated. So you can imagine that if these easy to dismiss arguments are a large reason I'm not conservative, it would really piss me off when progressives with large platforms said things that were so optically terrible that they would make those incredibly stupid, simplistic arguments seem correct, and in essence, turn those progressives into the conservative straw man. Let me start off by saying I'm going to be making some SJW cringe compilation here. If you wanted to find poor messaging from the left, you could find tons of it in seconds. But plenty of that stuff is fringe, and it only even gets engagement because it's opposed
Also,
by
the
most
right does the
people.
same
That
thing.
means I'm not going to be looking at stuff like t-shirts that say, I stabbed people for misgendering me. That stuff is dumb, but it's mostly irrelevant. No, this video is going to be talking about the big stuff. The big stuff like gay choirs. Many of the anti-LGBT folks claim that being gay is a sinful choice, and that the gays are created by grooming and pedophilia. Now, of course we know that conversion therapy never really works, and that most gay people are created by watching Tim Curry in Rocky Horror. But the San Francisco Gay Man's Chorus decided that the gays were not nearly scary enough to these people, and made this.
We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. We're coming for them. We're coming
Jesse!
for your children.
Now, before you grab your pitchfork, you have to understand that this song is satirical. Looking at the lyrics, you'll see that they're clearly playing on the trope of gay people coming for your children, but are actually subverting it. They say that we'll convert your children, we'll make them tolerant and fair. We'll convert your children and make an ally of you yet.
We'll convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate.
It's kind of like those old memes with the respectful black businessman that subvert your racist expectations. They're not saying that we're making your kids gay, they're saying that the gay agenda is to make people accept them for who they are. And here's why that's fucking stupid. Number one, they assumed that conservatives could understand basic satire. If you've ever seen an article from the Babylon Bee, aka the Conservative Onion, you know that these people are incapable of writing satire. Haha, guys, check it out. Justice Sotomayor is so dumb that she put the gavel in her nose. Satire. High-profile conservatives conservatives like Jordan Peterson or the governor of Texas will obliviously share and comment on articles from the Dunning-Kruger Times as if they were real. That is the satire site named specifically after the phenomenon where stupid people think they're smarter than they actually are. But don't worry, when they hear you say, "We'll convert your children," while you creepily tilt your head with a soulless, dead-eyed smile, they're totally gonna understand that you're joking. And even if they do understand the subversive joke you're making, most of these people are gonna be bad faith and use it against you. Cause newsflash, second problem, anti-gay bigots don't want their kids to accept gay people either. So joke understanding or not, conservatives are gonna use your stupid song as anti-gay propaganda. This was paraded around the whole right-wing media circuit as proof that the gays were finally saying the quiet part out loud. And to this day, I see it used to vilify the LGBT community. The farthest right people got to dig their feet in and hate gay people even more. And the useful idiots who may have otherwise been accepting of gay people now think that the people shouting groomer all the time have some legitimacy. And worst of all, I had to spend time defending you morons against the stupidest people alive because I have listening comprehension and they don't. Real quick, I do have to address that there were a bunch of allegations that people from this chorus were convicted sex offenders. But the best evidence I could find were similar looking photos or names with no real concrete proof. But if it is true, that's pretty gross and just one more reason not to make a song about coming for people's kids. Like, maybe if you're gonna make some satire mocking conservative fears, at least don't look in the camera and in the face of all the hate and bigotry and crazy conspiracy theories about gay people, say you're correct.
But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct.
Can you even imagine what the right-wing version of this would look like?
Well, if you think I like shooting kids, you're darn tootin'. I'll shoot your kids at school, and I'll shoot them on the floor. I'll shoot your kids for cheap and fast at Jimbo's camera store. Yeehaw! You're in Jimbo's collection now.
All right, now for something less gay. Trans woman in sports. Republicans want to ban them all. Progressives want to accept them. Truly the important debate of our century regarding the 12 trans athletes that exist. The main reason people are opposed is that sports are sex segregated due to the average biological advantages that men have over women. Testosterone levels, bone density, height, testicles, etc. So if you were on the side of letting trans women into women's sports, you'd either have to have a very nuanced position about sports categories with consideration on restructuring sex segregation to be more trans inclusive, or some really good scientific studies
Personally,
that
I'm
show
on
that
that
trans
side.
hormone treatments level out certain advantages that trans women would otherwise have. Or if you really wanted to trigger me, you could just say the conservative straw man position, aka trans woman or woman, ignore the science, you bigot.
I don't give a shit about the scientific explanations. People, if they identify as a woman, get to compete in sports. If that's not fair in the short term for a variety of little competitions, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit, because the societal interest of including trans people in society trumps stupid competition. Full stop. So I'm right about this, you're wrong about this.
Now, ultimately, Emma's take here is based. Sports are dumb, anyone who cares about them is dumb, and God bless trans women for trying to make women's sports more interesting. But seriously, the messaging is the worst possible thing you can say if you want to fight for trans inclusion. Because for all intents and purposes, Emma has literally become the Ben Shapiro feelings over facts straw man. And I don't know about you, but I prefer when my opponents openly reject scientific data.
This is yet another reminder that science is mostly fake.
For years, conservatives have done this with climate change, and it makes it really easy to win people to your side when your biggest detractors say science doesn't matter and climate change isn't a thing because it's snowing outside.
In case we have forgotten, because we keep hearing that 2014 has been the warmest year on record, I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball, and that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out.
If you want to drive away reasonable people and torpedo your movement, nothing works faster than saying loudly into the megaphone,
I wish.
You don't care about the facts.
I don't give a shit about the scientific explanation.
Imagine getting on a plane and the first thing you hear is,
"Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen, to your non-stop flight to Chicago. Before we get going, I just want to let you all know that I don't care what the science says. This plane can fly.
What's even worse is, I don't even think Emma truly believes what she's saying. If it was a verifiable fact that being in a 5-meter vicinity of a trans athlete caused the cis woman's heads to explode, there is no chance that Emma would say the same thing, because there would be demonstrable, catastrophic harm to including trans women in women's sports. Now, obviously, nothing that absurd is happening, but even for Emma, there must exist some line where the hypothetical harm would outweigh the benefits of inclusion. People across the political spectrum hate unfairness, and even progressives would perceive some degree of unfairness if they saw increasing rates of sports injuries caused by trans women, or trans women vastly outperforming cis women.
Trans women and girls are women and girls. They get to participate in women's sports and girls' sports. That's the bottom line. Okay?
Taking this blind, dogmatic approach to inclusion can alienate tons of otherwise accepting allies that would help vote on pro-trans legislation. And I understand where Emma is coming from. There is a swath of hate and bigotry directed at the LGBT community right now. And it seems silly to pass legislation, let alone focus on at all the incredibly small amount of trans women in sports.
And pretending that we care about the purity of athletic competition in this way is just designed to get people riled up, because if you can say that trans women are not women or girls enough to participate in sports, what else can they not do? They may not be able to go into the bathroom of their choice. They may not be able to have the same civil rights. Maybe they can't change their gender on a form. Maybe they can't participate in the workforce in a way that comports to their gender identity. Once you concede that they're not actually women and girls, then you are opening the door for further discrimination.
It's very important that progressives be as welcoming and accepting of the people who need it most to counteract the right-wing hate machine. And Emma clearly thinks that this acceptance is of utmost importance, more than any amount of unfairness or potential backlash. But there's a nuanced discussion to be had about how we segregate sports. What determines fairness? How do we continue to ignore trans men at every possible moment in any of these trans conversations? And how can we include trans people in a way that doesn't invalidate the reason we made
that last point is the most.
Maybe we make tiers based on performance. Maybe it's based on height and weight categories. I'm not going to pretend like I know a solution that would make everyone happy, or even a good solution. But outright saying I don't care about the science is 100% not how you do it. And if you can't even convince me, someone who
being a trans man fucking baller, bro,
and who is charitable enough to steelman your argument, then how the hell are you going to win over the average person who gets to see your worst takes amplified by the largest conservative channels in the world?
Sorry, I don't have.
She's on the majority
Twitch
report
open.
And she had a clip going viral today, talking about how if you want to feel safe on public transit, this is bourgeois. And you have to suppress those bourgeois feelings. You have to make yourself feel okay about being abused on the public transportation system.
By the way, I do really like the Majority Report. Their show is entertaining and informative, and I even use clips of them in my other videos. So it's especially because I like them that I feel the need to call them out. Rest in peace, Michael Brooks. Becoming your opponent's straw man isn't exclusively left-wing. You may recall things like Matt Walsh changing his Twitter bio isn't exclusively left-wing. You may recall things like Matt Walsh changing his...
Okay, well, Jesus. I'm sorry, guys. I can't have my headphones on right now.
To say theocratic fascist, or the CPAC banner, where they proudly displayed, "We are all domestic terrorists," in defense of Kyle Rittenhouse. And if I thought it would do any good to make a video that convinced all right-wingers to be good faith and have some nuance, I would do that instead. But I know that the best shot I have right now is to implore the people on my side to have some self-reflection. If you're not convinced that this terrible rhetoric is effective in both riling up our opponents and driving away potential allies, look no further than the fake accounts created by Russia or God knows who literally fake these straw man positions with the express goal of division. Recently, an ostensibly fake account tweeted this in response to the Supreme Court's affirmative action ruling. Today's Supreme Court decision is a direct attack on black people. No black person will be able to succeed in a merit-based system, which is exactly why affirmative action-based programs were needed. Today's decision is a travesty. As far as I can tell, this person doesn't exist, and her tweet confirms the right-wing view that all Democrats have the bigotry of low expectations for black people. It also did an amazing job of triggering every right-wing pundit with millions of viewers. And maybe it's my bigotry of low expectations for progressives, but I think we can do at least slightly better than astroturfing bot accounts. So all I'm asking is, if you're gonna say something provocative or edgy to further a progressive agenda, maybe think for 2 seconds how it can be weaponized by the right before you kindly load the gun that they have pointed at my face. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like if you did, and subscribe if you want more. Leave a comment if there's a topic that you want to see me cover. I read every single one of them.
New Year. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? How's it going? And if you're coming back, what's up? How's it going? Really good to see you again. Happy New Year. See what happens when you subscribe to my channel? You get an extra greeting at the beginning of every single one of my videos. So press that subscribe button for an extra greeting, please. Folks, it's 2021.
Don't be sorry. Yeah, I don't need
They shut down Quibi. No, I think 2021 is going to be really good. I have a good feeling.
I don't need that
even
stuff,
though
bro.
I said the exact same thing about 2020 last
Go
year.
advertise to
but
somebody else.
2020 is the year, dude. This is the year, okay? I think I'm right this year. Things are going to change. Things are going to be better. And you know what? You can't expect things to change if you yourself don't change your behavior, right? So to inspire all of you to do things differently this year, I'm going to set an example by making a video about TikTok. Yeah, I got you. I'm not changing at all year. This is what I'm wearing all year. Over the years, I've made
Okay, I mean, at least he addressed it. He's at it. Marie, what the fuck?
This video is just going to be me rambling. This video is not a professional video, more casual video, because I just need to get some things off my chest. I just need to talk about some things, because there's been some shit on my mind recently that's been really fucking with me. And I don't have the money to afford a therapist, so instead I have you, which is you in this mask. That's a great combination, great substitute for mental health. But no, in all seriousness, all joking aside, I posted a One Piece video recently, alright, about Fishman Island. So I'm not gonna try and dive too much into that, but the video, I should be happy about this video. This video did very well. It's one of my fastest growing videos. Last I checked, 90% or 85% or something like that. Like dislike ratio, which isn't horrible. It's not the best either, but I mean it's not terrible. And but it's like this, and I was proud. I was proud at first making this video. I really liked the video. I didn't like the way the audio turned out. I had AC going in the back, so I put all the voice isolation over it, and the voice isolation was just too much, and it sounded like it was underwater, and it just was. I felt like that.
Bro, be yapping.
I mean, I watch over the videos.
This is what brain rot looks like. What is this?
And I just couldn't fucking stand it. This is the way the world is. And I blame the political parties. And there was this one fucking guy. Here's this one. I just need to get this one off my chest. This is kind of derailing the conversation a little bit, the point. But I just need to get this off my chest because this one really pissed me off. So feel free to skip ahead, because I just want to call this guy out, because it's just like, this kind of goes further to my point, where it's like, dude, there was this one guy I had who was speaking in just straight TikTok brain rot, dude, just straight.
What is he? What is this guy yapping about, bruh? Anyway, why was I recommended that video? YouTube, what are you doing to me? Honestly, that isn't bad at all. He's a little longer than these assholes tend to be, I guess. But no, the koi. I'm just gonna do. Yes. I might make another one of those assholes. Okay, I would like one of these like be angled shots, but like sorry. Sorry. Jeez. Jesus. Why is he there? Could he be in a worse place? The answer is it'd be hard. It'd be hard for him to be in a worse place, bro. Jesus. Ben Shapiro's a reactor now.
Actually, this is woke. We should kill all brown people.
We're officially in hell.
Control your bodies. Hey, bitch, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. Your body, my choice.
Tony said, Melissa, girl, let me get on in the gig. And guess what, Tony? And audience, they're doing a giveaway. Literally free toys and gift cards to toys. All you gotta do is click the link in my
Who's
description.
they?
You want a glimpse of some of those toys? Because I've been trying them out for months now. Woo! Let me tell you. You want to tell them about Balesa, Tony? Balesa is a by women company, not by women, but a company by women. Although that too, for all things wellness. Balesa's mission is about empowering everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sensuality. Isn't that beautiful, Tony Baloney? We got the Demi wand. It's compact, discreet, come with this cute little charging case. It's also waterproof, USB chargeable, and no weird pattern modes, because you know. Works for all body types, which means orgasms for all. Then we've got the Air Vibe. This one's about dual stimulation.
Hamana,
Internally and externally,
what did she
you know what I'm
say?
saying. It comes in this cute, discreet
I
case
wanna
as
check.
well. It's
What's the
waterproof, rechargeable, and silent.
what's the fucking
And then you
Dante's
have
clip?
my new favorite. Because I had some favorites before, but this girl right here, this one right here, she is.
I want to jerk.
Nothing else.
I'm not gonna say it.
Use
I'm gonna get clipped. Marcus is
Jesus.
there. I know he's just not talking. He
Ain't
just
that
wants to
right?
clip me
The
without me
pebble
knowing.
is suction and vibration controlled.
I think I fucked it, guys.
Ergonomically built to fit perfectly.
Fuck, I
and
think
in
I
you
fucked
when
it.
you're in compromising positions. Oh my God. And it also doesn't have any annoying pattern modes. So, I know wintertime is lonely and cold and tiring, but if you're somebody that likes an orgasm or two, wants to explore your sensuality, your sexuality, and have some fun with some toys, check out the link in my description. And thank you so much to Balesa for sponsoring this portion of today's video. And thanks to y'all for supporting a brand that supports this channel. All right, let's get back into it.
Actually, I think I didn't fuck
There's
it.
this woman. Her name was Jenny Thiessen, and she was getting a divorce from her husband. And during these divorce proceedings, she found out that her husband had been plying her with his sleeping medication, and then, while she was unconscious, raping her. Yes, spousal rape is illegal, but not if you're married or cohabitating. So he was charged with a felony, but the charges were dropped that same day because due to a legal loophole at the time in Minnesota's law, raping your intoxicated spouse was not illegal if you were married or cohabitating at the time of the offense. Let me explain that for those of you that might be like,
Jesus.
I'm sorry, what? Based on a law at the time in Minnesota, if you were cohabitating, living with someone, and/or married to this person, and you were unconscious, and they had their sexual way with you, yeah, it's fine. That's fucking allowed. Now we're going to talk a bit more about marital grape and the legal loopholes and things that are still allowed in present day, because it's shocking. Because I forgot to mention
Don't make me
that
laugh
case
about
was
fucking rape, bro.
Now, thankfully to Thiessen and legislators in Minnesota's hard work, in 2019, Governor Tim Walz signed a bill repealing the legal loophole in that state. But that's one state. And this article is from 2021, but at the time of this article, states like Ohio, Michigan, and Maryland had all just had rejections to their wanting to repeal this legal loophole. And surprise, surprise, guess who's been pushing back a lot against repealing this legal loophole? Republican lawmakers. Now, why do I bring all this up? Why are we talking about marital rape? Well, because, you know, that video I showed you at the beginning, and all these other crusty, dusty, musty people walking around thinking it's cute to, even if they're trying to be funny, say something like, your body, my choice, when we're still living in a time period where women's bodies are still seen as property of others, to the point where certain states still allow legal loopholes for marital rape, to the point where marital rape was legal in every 50-nifty state up until the 70s. And it wasn't outlawed in all the 50-nifty states until 1993. I was 1 year old when marital rape was officially outlawed across the United States. And I wasn't born yet when it was outlawed in Canada, but it was only 10 years earlier, in 1983. That's when Canada was like, right, just because you're married doesn't imply consent. Sometimes your wife's not gonna wanna have smexy time. Duh, right. This is hell, this is hell, I am sorry to tell you. Okay.
We are now.
Have the women who are considering having an abortion. When a woman becomes pregnant, there's two bodies there. It's not one, and it's not my body, my choice. It's care for the child. There's adoption. There's other routes to go.
What do you say to people out there that say that they don't want to get the COVID vaccine?
If the my body, my choice works for abortion, why doesn't the same work for the vaccine?
What a fucking God, kill me. Kill me in
Because people
Minecraft.
go around saying this shit and acting like it's cute, whether it's a joke or not, to further participate in not just dehumanizing women or not seeing them as a marginalized group or protected class of people or whatever, but going so far as to lean into blatantly, boldly, audaciously the idea that women are going to be property again. So yeah, that Fuentes motherfucker, he decided that he was gonna say that whole your body, my choice thing. And according to CNN, the video has been viewed more than 90 million times, reposted 35,000 times, whether that's people doing it for appreciation or to condemn what he's saying. And between Thursday and Friday, the ISD recorded a 4,600% increase in mentions of the phrase on X. And a number of women on TikTok posted videos saying their comments had been filled with users posting the phrase. Not surprising, especially because people got Twitter fingers and they love to just tip it, tip, tip, tap. That's not an invitation. Don't. I've gotten harassing emails and stuff too. Like, anytime you try to post anything slightly, hey, women are human beings and gender is a construct and you can still be a man and people can be women and whatever, but all of this other social shit that we're doing to try and reify this hierarchy, yeah, let's stop doing that. Let's slowly dismantle it so we can have better relationships. Yeah, I say something like that, and people will call me a misandrist, comment all types of nonsense, and send me weird, creepy photos. This whole phrase, which is a subversion of the whole my body, my choice, which is about reproductive justice, which also makes it that extra bit more disrespectful. Something that feeds into a lot of this and a lot of these discussions feed into the infantilization that we have of women. You might be like, it was just a joke, he was just joking. Yes, but a lot of people still, even if he's joking, a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are super happy Roe v. Wade was overturned because a lot of people don't think it's your choice. They think it's a man's choice. The big man upstairs, God. Even if you don't believe that, you have to. And they know what's best for you because they know God. They know all of these things. You're just a silly, misguided, you don't know what's best for you. That's the infantilizing part. But it's even more insidious because of things like marital rape that I was talking about, where even, let's say, those women that would vote for Trump, because I don't want to contribute to the infantilizing on this other side of like trying to tell women that might be conservative, you're misguided, honey, you're this, that. Listen, they might have all the information and still want that life. I don't understand it and I don't agree with it. I'm not going to talk down though, but what I will say is it is absurd to me. It is absurd to me, and I will say that, full chest. It's absurd to me when things like marital rape still have legal loopholes and you're voting against your own interest as a marginalized group, because even for the states that don't have this legal loophole for marital rape, there's still a lot of leniency, a little too much. In California, there's no mandatory prison sentence. In Virginia, judges can set aside a prison sentence for counseling, so you wouldn't ever actually have to serve any time. And in South Carolina, a spouse cannot be held criminally liable unless it was extremely violent. In South Carolina, a spouse who rapes their partner is not held criminally liable unless the attack involved extreme violence, a weapon, or the threat of a weapon. The state will also not prosecute if the victim doesn't report the assault within 30 days, and a convicted marital rapist can't serve more than 10 years in prison. What? What? In 2017, the same year Jenny Thiessen found out that her husband was giving her sleeping pills and recording her, and another woman in Canada, her husband was acquitted of sexually assaulting her even though he had done it while she was unconscious several different times. But they were like, well, what constitutes consent? He didn't know. I'm so tired. There's also that case in France. As recent as this year, Giselle Pellicot. This case is, it's all wild. But her husband got gratification from watching other men have sex with her, so he would drug her and allow so many men that the trial right now, at least at the time of this article, it's her husband and 50 other men are accused of assaulting this woman in their town. Imagine living in that town. All of these people are like, wow, is this person on the tape? I was with somebody that knowingly was willing to sleep with a drugged, unconscious woman. And she could have done this anonymously, but she wanted to take the shame out of her and put it on these men because she didn't do anything wrong.
That's fucking insane, bro.
This is a side tangent. Even if there was, because I've talked to a lot of sex workers and I'm fascinated by sex work and I do sex work adjacent things, so, But even if there was a place where somebody could go to pay for this sort of service, you like to sleep with people when they seem unconscious, right? People are like, not to kink shame. Some people are like, you should kink shame. I want to be a therapist of some kind, so I really want to not judge, and that's part of it. You got to be able to not judge. However, if people there should be a place for people that want to sleep with people that are slightly unconscious or whatever to do that, right? But for some of these people, that's not what it's about. It's not just about about that. Because if it was, you could go pay for that. You could pay for someone to pretend to be unconscious, agree to certain terms, and both of you are consenting adults in that room doing that thing. It might not be for everybody, but
Fuck
hey, but
insane,
unfortunately,
bruh.
for some of y'all, that's not what you want. You like that somebody is actually unconscious. You want the reality of that. You want the reality of taking advantage of somebody else's body. You don't want a consent conversation prior to. No.
Fuck
You want to be
insane.
able to take advantage of somebody, to use and abuse them for whatever reasons. And so when you go around saying shit like, your body, my choice, what are you saying, really? Because in the year of our Lord 2024, Giselle is in a courtroom right now, testifying openly about 51, probably more men over the span of years that were willing to assault her while she was drugged and while her husband watched. When you're saying, your body, my choice, what are you saying to someone like Jenny Thiessen, who was getting a divorce and then found all these videos of her husband and her unconscious? When you say, your body, my choice, would the words sound the same if Diddy was saying it to you? Because a lot of y'all seemingly understood the man versus bear thing when it was man versus Diddy. But you don't see how you could maybe be like that. If gay men start saying, your body, my choice, is it still going to be a funny little cute joke? Since all y'all are so precious about your little balloon knots back there, y'all are so terrified of those things, of being penetrated, horrified at the idea of being a bitch, but you respect women? How do the two relate? It's like that. This is a side tangent. You know what? Let me just get to the extended cut. I'm going to do my closing remarks, and then I'll get to the extended cut. Because Either way, I am frightened for our future. I'm gonna be honest. I am not just, being a woman, being femme, whatever, but I'm frightened for people's humanity. Like, where do you get off treating people like they are not human fucking beings? At the bare fucking minimum, at the end of the day, the black ass bottom line. I know there are probably some people right now typing furiously about my lack of humanity because of how I look and blah, 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 blah. There ain't shit you can say to me that I ain't heard, bitch. And it's not an invitation to try, okay? I'm sensitive. Stop. But also, I always, on my main channel, go back to this conversation about our universe of obligation. Who do we owe shit? Whose grievances are we meant to make amends to? This is Helen Fine's concept, but whose grievances do we owe amends? Who is seen as somebody worthy of being in our universe of obligation, care, empathy, compassion? How do we expand that for ourselves? If you don't want to, then this video is not going to reach you and it's not going to help you, so I don't know what to say. But if you do, why not ask yourself those questions? How do you consider others in the world? How do you consider yourself? And how much care and consideration do you give yourself and others in the world? My favorite thing that I think I saw in a video of like some girl saying, treat me like God handed me to you personally. I'm not religious, right? But the weight of that word, God, it means something to people. And if you thought more and more about treating people like God handed them to you personally, and I say this as somebody
Always do
who
that.
is not religious, but I have a very religious dad. I have a very religious family, but a very religious dad. Like, I've talked about this on my main channel. He is super, super, super duper religious. He's memorized the Quran a few times. He don't miss a prayer for nothing. He fasts during the week. My dad is one of the most pious people I've ever met. And he is also one of the most compassionate and progressive as he's aged. He wasn't always this way. As he's gotten older, he's become more progressive, more considerate, more caring of difference, more accepting of difference, more understanding of the fact that he doesn't have a heaven or hell to put anyone into, and he knows his religion and his beliefs and his things, and he understands fundamentally that those religions, beliefs, and things are rooted in a core of compassion and consideration and care for your fellow human being. I don't know. That just might just always be a difference of opinion, but either way, let me know your thoughts below. Girl, I think I'm posting 2 videos this week. Girl, anyway, for the patrons, stick around, because I'm going to talk about that counter thing. You know the joke where the girls are sitting there, men on the counter, and how men are like, some of the men are reacting really like violently weird to it, like, oh, I'm not a bitch. Like, anyway, we'll talk about it. For the rest of y'all, thanks for watching. Like, I don't know, girl. I don't know. Godspeed. Like, girl, call me back. Bye.
Godspeed. Oh, not bad. I might actually finish this today, bro. Let's go. It's already looking pretty fucking good. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey guys, before the video starts, I want to let you know there's a super epic Cyber Monday sale going on. Huge sales on my merch right now until December 1st, okay? Get after it, get the sales, and get it. Enjoy the video. Oh, Canada, our home and native land.
All right, folks. It's that time of year again. New season of weather is premiering. The winter months are upon us. Okay, the winter is
No!
among us, you could say.
Fuck me.
It's true, man. It's gonna be winter pretty soon.
Oh, stay, can't you see? By the dawn's early. What he just a fucking. I'm not gonna say that.
Trump is wanting to recreate the concept of F around, find out, as his tariff scheme just got turned on its head. So just yesterday, he took to Truth Social, writing, "On January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country." Well, turns out both Canada and Mexico have a pretty good sense
I only made it worse.
and a pretty good sense that he's not interested in diplomacy and only cares about brute force. And so today, the Mexican president suggested Mexico could respond to any of Donald Trump's tariffs with tariffs of its own on U.S. products. And as for Canada, well, they issued a statement that included a thinly veiled threat of their own. Quote, "Our relationship today is balanced and mutually beneficial, particularly for American workers. Today, Canada buys more from the United States than China, Japan, France, and the UK combined. Canada is essential to U.S. domestic energy supply, and last year 60% of U.S. crude oil imports originated in Canada." In other words, from Mexico, you've got the explicit threat of a trade war, and from Canada, you've got the implicit threat of a trade war. And I want to be crystal clear here. There are no winners in a trade war. None. No matter how big and powerful we all like to believe the United States is, we live in a global economy, and two of our top 3 biggest trade partners are the exact countries that Donald Trump is attacking as we speak. That means just as much as we can inflict pain on them, they can inflict pain on us. Consider, for example, the leverage that Canada has, as explained in the statement that I just read. There is a reason that Canada's Deputy Prime Minister made it clear that 60% of U.S. crude oil imports originate in Canada. It's because they know that we rely on that oil to fuel our energy sector. No pun intended. They are not without leverage here. And if the U.S. is going to attack Canada, then clearly Canada is willing to reciprocate, and they know they can. And it's not just oil and gas either. Consider, too, the leverage that Mexico has over the U.S. with regard to our food supply. Take a look at this chart that shows where our vegetables come from. See, all that green? That's our imports from Mexico. And in red are our imports from Canada. That is 15 billion pounds of produce, a gap that we won't be able to compensate for. Meaning we'll still need to import that food, it'll just be more expensive. Why? Because tariffs are a tax not on the exporting country, but rather on the consumer of the importing country. That means us. And by the way, for anyone who thinks that Trump couldn't possibly saddle us with a costly trade war, might I remind you that he literally already did it with China in 2018. According to the Tax Foundation, the Trump administration imposed nearly $80 billion worth of new taxes on Americans by levying tariffs on thousands of products valued at approximately $380 billion in 2018 and 2019, amounting to one of the largest tax increases in decades. Here's Tennessee's Department of Agriculture Commissioner back in 2019 discussing the impacts of the trade war on farmers and the Trump administration being forced to make those farmers whole by using tax dollars to compensate for him starting a trade war.
60% of our exports were going to China. trade wars started that effectively lost soybean, corn, took a big hit. I mean, really, and all farmers in the whole country were affected, and especially those that grow a lot of row crops in West Tennessee. At least some reports that they're making progress with China now. Even if that progress is made and you reinstitute that market, it's going to take some time to get it back developed. Some people say a year or two even after that.
So you think the subsidies that they get, they'll hold out, probably won't go bankrupt, anything like that?
Well, the money that they get's not going to fill the hole completely. We need some movement on and try to reopen that market before we'll be fully whole.
The reality is that another trade war, especially with both Canada and Mexico, will impact nearly every part of our economy. Take a look at this chart to see what the U.S. imports from Canada. Cars, tractors, trucks and parts, machinery and appliances, aluminum, iron, steel, wood, plastics, paper, pharmaceuticals, fertilizers. Or how about this chart to see what the U.S. imports from Mexico? Machinery and mechanical appliances, electronics, cars, tractors, trucks, parts, film equipment, beverages and alcohol, iron, steel, plastics, furniture, bedding, lamps. Here's that point being made on CNN as well.
If you voted for Trump because you thought he was going to bring down the cost of housing, a lot of our lumber, cement, other materials comes from Canada, which means that construction costs are going to go up. Not to mention all of the ways he's going to roil the U.S. auto industry, because a lot of autos cross borders in North America multiple times before they're ultimately finished and sold to consumers. Not to mention the fact that a lot of U.S. manufacturers purchase inputs, intermediate goods like metals and cement and other things from Canada, from Mexico, and not to mention even the retaliation that we should expect. All of which is going to be very bad for consumers, not to mention, again, many of the U.S. workers that Trump allegedly wants to help.
All of which is to say, again, that trade wars have no winners. There is a reason that diplomacy is a better tool than entering office an unhinged toddler and waging your economic wars on your allies. These people are literally our allies. They aren't even our enemies. Trump can parrot America first until he's blue in the face, but we live in a global economy. We rely on other countries to keep that economy running, and we are better off cooperating with them than declaring war on them, which seems like a pretty basic concept, and yet, here we are. And look, we could go on and on about how these tariffs are going to touch every part of our lives here in the U.S., and trust me, they will. But what I think is the more brazen part of this is that Donald Trump and Republicans spent the better part of a year completely destroying the Biden White House for high prices as the result of inflation, which of course was out of the White House's control. Inflation was a global phenomenon, and as the result of that inflation, there wasn't a single incumbent party in any industrialized country on earth that did not lose seats in their majorities or just lose their elections outright. That is how consequential the phenomenon of inflation was. This was a miserable year for incumbents across the entire globe, and the U.S. wasn't spared by that. And Trump, whether fairly or not, was the beneficiary of that anti-incumbent sentiment as the result of high inflation. And yet now, the very first thing he's seeking to do in office, on the back of that anti-inflation sentiment, is going to be to take action that'll have the effect of raising prices? So either he truly does not have one single person in his orbit who understands the consequences of tariffs and their impact on consumers, or he never actually cared about lowering costs and he just attacked the Democrats on an issue that he recognized was potent while being fully willing to extract even more pain onto the country for the very thing that he accused the left of doing. That is Donald Trump's depravity, hypocrisy, and lack of care for the American people on full display. So while it's silly to ever try and predict what's going to happen in the Trump era, I can say with certainty that if there is a trade war, everything will be more expensive. Cars, parts, electronics, food, alcohol, gas, utilities, drugs, and more. This is the warning. Right now, Donald Trump knows what will happen. Whether he's capable of being enough of an adult to actually listen remains to be seen.
Whoops!
Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.
Hello, I just did a big merch restock on my website. bunch of merch back up on the site. So go check it out, curtisconnor.com, or just check the link in the description. All right, thank you. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? How's it going? And if you're coming back, what's up? How's it going? Really good to see you again. I hope you're doing well. All right, folks, what are some things that come to mind when you think of gamers? Doritos, light up keyboards, sweaty balls. But out of all the things that popped up in your head, was any of them, ooh, I don't know, God? Huh? Religion? Jesus? Probably not. And that's what's wrong with society today. Us gamers aren't viewed as good, God-fearing individuals, and we need to band together and change that. A lot of people don't know this, but the G in G Fuel actually stands for God. I'm kidding, obviously. Anybody who's played an online competitive video game with strangers is well aware. There is no God. There can't be. The things I've heard come out of people's mouths because they died in a video game, that is the work of the devil and the devil alone.
So yeah, you're gay.
And before we get any further into this video, I want to do a quick disclaimer. Obviously, I'm going to be touching on religion in this video, which historically has been pretty divisive. So if you're somebody who gets ticked off when someone critiques religion, especially Christianity, now's your chance to click away. All right, finally, they're gone. Yeah, if you couldn't tell from me saying that God isn't real like 10 seconds ago, I'm not a religious person. I never have been. I just never saw the appeal. I will tell you my own personal experience with religion, though. When I was in third grade, I had a friend, a really good friend named Joshua, and his family was super religious. And that's obvious because his name was Joshua. And one day he invited me to go to his church with him because he said it was like this like chill spot where a bunch of kids our age just hang out and play games. And me being 8, I was like, fuck yeah, dude, let's go. So I got there, we were hanging out for a bit, and one of the youth pastors starts talking to me, and he's like, I'm sorry. Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta tell you, if you don't go to church every Sunday, you're gonna burn in hell for eternity when you die. You don't want that, do you? Which is a pretty gnarly thing to say to an 8-year-old. And to make it worse, at that point in my life, I don't think I even knew I was going to die. So that was a lot to process. So when I got home, I was like freaking out to my mom. I was like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but if we don't go to church every Sunday, we're both fucked. We're both gonna burn in hell forever. And I remember my mom, God bless her. I remember her being like, Curtis, nobody really knows what happens to us when we die. We can go to church if you want, but if you want to get up at 7 a.m. every Sunday, be my guest. And I never brought up religion ever again. So my personal experience with Christianity, it's always been like pretty negative. But again, disclaimer before we get into this. If you are religious and your beliefs don't harm anybody, hell yeah, I have heaven here. Now, that being said, when people try to force the religion like down people's throats and they act like they're better than you because they believe in God, that's what kind of bugs me. And I'm not saying I'm better than a Christian because I don't believe in God, but it's one thing to like talk to someone and like engage in a nice conversation about religion and spirituality. But if you're just like, oh, you don't believe in Jesus? All right, bitch, have fun in hell. I'm gonna be up there hanging out in a sauna with Elvis Presley. Bitch. When you think about it, hell is kind of just one big sauna. Doesn't sound that bad. So if I do say anything negative about Christians in this video, just know that I'm referring to those types of people. All right? All good? Don't get mad at me? Great. So back to the main topic of the video. The reason I brought up gamers and religion at the beginning of this video is because we're going to be taking a look at a content creator, not God, the original content creator. We're going to be looking at a creator named Dr. Witnesser. He's a Twitch streamer. Well, he was a Twitch streamer. We'll get into that in a second. He was a Twitch streamer that, in his own words, brings the gospel to gamers. I still can't read that without laughing. What he'll do is he'll go into like random Fortnite matches and he'll just like teach his teammates about God. Surface leather, kind of weird, but do you, I guess. I'm not saying surface level anymore. It's surface leather from now on. Surface leather. Huh? So this religious rascal popped up on my TikTok For You page a few weeks ago. It was like just someone posting a clip from one of his streams. And I think it perfectly sums up the issue with preaching the gospel in an online video game.
I don't know if we can res you. You might want to call God to come resurrect you.
That's not funny.
Don't get too serious on us, alright? We're playing Fortnite. We're not here to listen to your Bible study.
If you don't turn from your wicked ways and repent and trust in Jesus, you're going to die and burn in hell and cease to exist and turn to ash. That's not going to affect anything you think about.
Like, man, what did you expect? You're going into a random fucking online Fortnite match, trying to teach kids about God, which is probably the last thing they want to fucking hear. And then when someone makes a simple joke, you fucking freak out and try to like scare them.
If you don't turn from your wicked ways and repent and trust in Jesus, you're gonna die and burn in hell.
Sounds familiar. You're gonna burn in hell for eternity when you die. You don't want that, do you? I got that. You know, I thought Christianity was supposed to be all like, come on, man. Just like, love each other, bro. Love thy neighbor. But like that's never the way people like this like try to educate others about the Bible. It almost always starts with fear mongering about what happens to us when we die. You don't want to convert? That's fine. Oh, that's fine. I don't care. I mean, you will burn in hell for eternity. You're going to be on fire forever while Satan kicks you in the balls repeatedly. And I'm going to hate you for it. But again, totally your call. Lucifer, I hardly know her. Here's another great clip that I saw from one of his streams.
Stop using his name in vain, bro.
I did not say his name.
Lucifer, I hardly know her.
Do you do that like that God thing, like after the afterworld or whatever?
Yes, I do that. Yes, that's me.
Oh my God! I didn't.
Hey.
What the hell?
Don't
How?
What? You can't just sit there and just start busting out, taking his name in vain and stuff like that.
Oh my God!
Stop taking his name in vain, dude.
Stop taking his name in vain, dude. Is just hearing someone say, "Oh my God," a sin? Seriously, let me know. Like, leave the kid alone, man. He said it, not you. It's one thing if that was his child, you know? Like, fine, you can enforce whatever bullshit rules you want. But to some random kid whose Fortnite squad you randomly join, don't get all pissed off when he says OMG because you don't like personally saying it. That's just not how life works, right? Ugh, I hate randomly assigned seating, you know? I wish I was sitting next to my best friend over there. His name's Christian. Yeah, they suck. Hey, whoa. Is that a peanut? Are you about to eat a peanut? Get that out of my face! Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you allergic? No, I'm not allergic. I just don't like them. Okay, so if you're gonna be sitting around me, you gotta agree with everything I do, everything I say, and you gotta bend over backwards to make sure you wouldn't do anything I wouldn't do. Skank? Hey, whoa! Sorry, I really don't like peanuts. Okay, well, I'm hungry, and I like them. You don't have to eat them, so it's fine. Stop eating peanuts, dude. Yeah. Whoa! Come on, give me those peanuts! What are you doing? Yeah, have fun trying to eat your peanuts now. They're all gone. Oh my God, someone help! He's choking! I'm not choking, I'm allergic! You said you weren't allergic! I lied, you skank! Also, the ending of that clip, that's the funniest thing I've seen all year.
Stop taking his name in vain, dude.
Stop taking his name in vain, dude. You won't like me when I hear you take his name in vain too many times. I'll turn into the Christian Hulk, which is just like the regular Hulk, but fully clothed.
This joke was brought to you by Christians Against Shirtless Hulk.
So earlier I mentioned that he was a Twitch streamer, and that's because he was actually banned from Twitch for telling a Muslim child that he was going to hell because he doesn't belong to the same religion as Dr. Witnesser.
Well, you're talking about since you're American Christian. Since the Muslim culture, we don't talk about that.
They don't talk about it because they don't want to believe it, that's why. So look, if you were to die in your sins today, you would be sentenced to hell.
Dude, if heaven is full of motherfuckers like this,
Alright.
I'm good.
Anyway.
You guys go ahead. I'll sit heaven out. How about that? Hey, doctor, you are a grown man who is trying to scare a child into Christianity.